delicious meal that you also provided. And I pray now, Lord, that your Spirit will continue to be with us throughout this day and bless each presenter, we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you so much. I am so glad to be here today speaking, and I'm so excited to be at this church because I've been traveling a long time, and there's far and few churches that will have this topic of discussion. So I really appreciate you, Pastor, for allowing the speakers to come in today and talk about this topic because it's so important and so missed today. I'm going to share a little of my story, and then I'm going to give you some information that'll help you improve your health. And it's not about perfection. It's about doing a little bit better than you did the day before. You know, you don't have to strive to be perfect overnight. But there's a saying, if you keep doing the same thing and expect a different result, that's the definition of insanity. You have to change what you're doing to change the result. And if you're happy with your results, you don't need to change. You know what? Most people, the only people that are happy with the results are the doctors because that's who they keep visiting. You know, so our Creator gave us the instructions in the world's greatest health book of what we need to do to get the results that He wants us to have. He wants us to be healthy. And He has examples in the greatest health book ever written. Moses was climbing mountains at 120. He wasn't seeking out his doctor. He was going to Yah and listening to him. So we have this information. The churches today, it's going downhill. I'll tell you right up front, the greatest health information I've read that I found in the scriptures was Ellen White's Health Reform. Simple, easy to understand, easy to apply. But even today, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, I don't know the last time you've seen the health things that are going on there, but the people are just as sick as the average church today. The results people are getting is due to what they're doing. So it's not too complicated. I went to a church, I took my child to a VBS camp years ago. That's the Vacation Bible School camps that they have in the summer. And I went into this church. I got confused. I don't know if I was in a Starbucks or a church because the first thing you saw was a coffee bar. And of course, if you have coffee, you have donuts. If you have donuts, you have all the other stuff that they have there. But it's years later now, and I kid you not, every month for the years since I've been there, I'm getting messages about pray for this person who has this disease or this person died and all that, and consistently. And when I go to all these churches and speak, which I've been all over to speak at churches, there's more prayer for healing of disease than any other topic. And I'm thinking, we got the greatest health book right in our hands. We should be praising for our great health. It's great to pray for somebody's healing, but we need to go beyond that. Look, well, why does this person need the healing? What's going on and what's this person doing? Because our Creator shows us and tells us in the scriptures that we should have a long life of good health and peace and shalom and do all these wonderful things. Basically, what I'm saying is, if we're stricken with a disease, we have to first look at the spiritual, the emotional, and the physical side of things and see where's that coming from. We have to identify that, and then we got to deal with it. A lot of people don't want to deal with it. They're going to their doctors, and their doctors deal with it. A lot of people are on medication, and they're relying on their medication. The greatest prescription is what the doctor says and the pharmacy says, but they're not listening to what the scriptures say about health. And we're going to talk about some of these things today. And the previous speaker was wonderful. She had spoken at a place called Hippocrates Health Institute, or was a teacher there. That's in West Palm Beach, right around here. That's where I got better when I was 19 years old. I had something called inflammatory bowel disease, also known as Crohn's disease or colitis. And basically the doctors told me, said, there's no cure for this condition. And I said, does diet have anything to do with it? She goes, there's no connection between diet and this condition. She said, I'd have to be on medication for the rest of my life, and I'm at a high risk for colon cancer, but don't worry, we can cure colon cancer. I said, you don't have a cure for my illness, but you have a cure for colon cancer? She said, yeah, if you have it, we'll cut out your colon. And I realized the doctors weren't the way I wanted to go, so I found this place called the Hippocrates Health Institute, and they told me about something called the raw food diet, just fruits and vegetables and nothing else. And at that time, I ate everything but fruits and vegetables. I ate so bad. And I didn't connect why I was sick or anything else, but when I started to go there and learn and realize this, and I didn't even know the Bible at that time, but I was learning and reading and understanding, but I wanted to be sure if this would help me. So I called my doctor up and I asked her, would the eating just fruits and vegetables help me? And she said, there's no medical studies to prove that'll help you. So I knew I was on the right path because nothing else she told me worked up to that point. So then I got a Bible. I opened it up to Genesis 1:29. And it said the fruit for man is fruits and vegetables. So I started eating fruits and vegetables. I got better almost immediately. And it helped me realize two things. Food did have something to do with my health, and my doctor doesn't know about health. And most doctors don't know about health. Most doctors are studying the treatment of pain and disease. Now, some doctors are wonderful. If I get in a car accident, don't tell me to eat an apple. Send me to the emergency room. But if I am suffering from a disease, it's the result of what I'm putting in my body. And this morning they spoke about Deuteronomy 28 and blessings and curses. And the scriptures show us clearly, health goes along with blessings and curses go along with disease. And blessings go along with obedience, and disease goes along with disobedience. It all works hand in hand. And it even names the diseases in the scriptures. Now we're updated in today's time, so it might be a little different calling what they're calling it, but it's the same thing. Health, obedience, and blessings. Disease, curses, and disobedience. So the real answer to health isn't running to your doctor, isn't taking their medication. The real answer to health is, what does our Creator say about this? And regardless of what you want to title your diet or call your diet, there's health principles that our Creator gives us in the scriptures. And if we follow those, chances are we're going to be better off than what we've been following the doctors and the advice of the common world today. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, there's a way before each man that seems right but ends in death. It's going to happen a lot sooner if we follow man's ways. Man's ways is making money. Man's ways is, how am I going to eat or get people to eat as much as possible of a certain thing and then sell them some super supplement to help them with the things that they're not getting in their diet. And it's just all about that, and disease control and the doctors and medication and everything else that goes opposite to what many of these scriptures say about health. But they do a great job. There's so much confusion out there when it comes about diet and health because everyone's saying something different. Everyone has something different to say, so who are you going to listen to? The most convincing person. But then someone else is going to come along and sound quite convinced, so who are you going to listen to? And it gets confusing where people eventually, they give up and they just start following what everyone's doing because there's just too much confusing information out there. I'm going to tell you something now, regardless of what way or diet you want to call it, how to eat, is what you leave out is the answer. Health begins with what you leave out. Leave out the processed food. Leave out the junk food. And that's one of the keys to when we make our food choices. How do we know what's good food or not? If we rely on listening to what people are saying, we're going to be confused. There's too much confusion out there. But we all have cell phones today, and on the cell phone, there's several different apps on the cell phone. And one of them, I'll tell you, is called the Bobby app. The Barbie app. And Bobby's this guy who goes around Costco and Aldi, and he shows people what food's healthy and what food's not healthy. He looks at the ingredients. We don't need to know ingredients to look at ingredients anymore. You take out your phone, it's a free app, and you scan the barcode. And it will tell you if it's, he calls it Bobby approved or not. There's some other apps that do a similar thing. If something says it's, I'm not in favor of everything that's approved, but I am sure if something says it's not Bobby approved, put it down. He even says why it's not approved, but put it down if that's the case. For example, If something has wheat in it, it's not Bobby approved. I'd say 90% of the food most people eat have some form of wheat in it. Why isn't it approved? Because only organic wheat doesn't have the poisons and toxins, the Roundup and everything else. Things we never even think of. But you see health foods and superfoods and all these different foods. I don't even eat wheat. I've been on the raw food diet from Hippocrates Health Institute for 30 years now. 30 years. And because of the confusion and everything else out there, there's the people that you can't live a year on that type of diet or a week on that type of diet. 30 years. I'm still living. You can do it. The scriptures say in Genesis 1:29, fruits and vegetables, this is the food for man. But it even goes beyond that. Remember, blessings and curses go with obedience and disobedience. The root problem is disobedience. In Isaiah 24:5, it says, the earth suffers for the sins of its people, for they have twisted our Creator's instructions. You understand, the first sin of man wasn't about an apple. It was about disobedience. And there are consequences with disobedience. So we start to realize these things and understand these things and not make excuses to continue doing the same things and change what we're doing and get the results that our Creator wants for us. After we read chapter 28 in Deuteronomy, which says the blessings and the curses, and many of them go along with the name illnesses we have today, it says, I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Therefore choose life. Choose life, and you shall live. Now, diet isn't only about health. You could be eating a great diet, but there's so many other things people ignore. Everyone, when they want to get healthy from a disease or healed from something, they always look at diet. But there are so many other factors that people don't understand that come from our Creator. I give my beloved sleep. People don't know how to sleep today. And that's one of the greatest healer. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars on machines. You don't have to go to these doctors that are charging so much money. The greatest healing takes place with what our Creator gave us, our body. Sleep and rest. Getting enough sleep and rest. And people do not know how to do that. Studying diet is going to confuse you because there's so many people saying different things. But when you go listen to sleep doctors and people that teach sleep, they pretty much all teach the same thing. Go to sleep when it's dark outside. Don't stay up late at night. Be careful. If you're waking up with an alarm clock, you probably got too much sleep. Napping is great if you need it, but if you need it, you probably didn't get enough sleep. Don't eat before going to sleep because it's going to mess up with your sleep. You understand? If we eat a healthy diet, we should get the sleep we need and be able to. If we're not eating a healthy diet, we're not going to be able to get the proper amount of sleep and rest. Is where the real healing takes place. Is when we're getting the sleep we need. But we think and we learn and we see what keeps us late. Now we're learning about blue lights and all the different colors of the lights and red lights. The blue lights are to mimic the sky and the daylight. I wrote a book called The Daylight Darkness, which talks about the circadian rhythms in our body. And when we wake up in the middle of the night and put on lights, or we stay up watching TV late at night, that's messing with your sleep. That's messing with your healing. Shutting those lights, put a red light on, don't look at your computer late at night, get the proper amount of sleep, get up at the right time. But here's the thing when it comes to daylight and darkness. Digestion works when the sun is out at its highest. The sun is one of the greatest healing things that our Creator gave us. When we eat, when it's light outside, our body will digest the food the way it was designed to digest the food. When we eat, when it's dark outside, our body can't digest the food the same way. So even if you're eating what you think is good for you, which is probably not Bobby approved, but when you're eating at nighttime that same food, your body doesn't know what to do with it. It messes up your digestion. So some people say, well, I got the best diet. Well, maybe you're eating it at the wrong time. Too much, too often, and too late is a big problem. You're letting your body do what it was designed to do, and at nighttime when you're sleeping is one of the greatest times when it was designed to do that. Then we think about being out in the sun, eating when it's daylight outside, being out in the sun in general. People, they don't understand it's not only vitamin D you get from the sun, but there's so much more beyond that the sun does, so much healing. And probably 15 to 20 minutes of sunlight in the daytime is going to do more healing than most of the medication people are taking that are giving them a false sense of healing. And so, but people don't want to go outside anymore. And they're putting things and chemicals on their bodies so the sun doesn't harm them and get these things. All these things were given to us in the scriptures, and it speaks all about it in the scriptures. But when we conform to the world's ways, we get the world's diseases. When we look at what our Creator says and how to live and do these things, it says in Romans, do not conform to the world's ways. So when it comes to diet and health and the things we should be doing, we need to consider these things. Exodus 15:26 says, if you diligently follow my guidelines and instructions, I will not put the same diseases upon you that I put upon the Egyptians. Who were the Egyptians at that time? They were a group of people that was living against the ways of our Creator. If you diligently follow my guidelines and instructions, I will not put the same diseases upon you that I put upon the disobedient. So we got to question that and look at that. I'm telling you, everybody, we're only saved. We only have salvation from the blood of Yeshua, a wonderful Messiah. However, our obedience is going to help keep us healthy. There's consequence to disobedience, and disease is the biggest consequence. So the first thing we need to do is, before praying about what medicine we should take and how we're going to have money to pay for that medication, we need to think about, well, am I in line with what the scriptures tell me to do and how to live? The Sabbath is a great example. The Seventh-day Adventist Health Study, which is the world's biggest health study ever on living a diet of healthy living in terms of with good results. Well, what do these people that are getting good results all have in common? They're keeping the Sabbath day. Was that from man or from our Creator? So I would question if somebody's dealing with a disease, open up your Bible and question, am I in line with what our Creator is telling us? Question, am I living according to the way He told me to live? And somebody say, well, show me where in the scriptures it says that we shouldn't eat at nighttime. I say, if our Creator wanted us to eat when it was dark outside, He would have made fruits and vegetables glow in the dark. Before we had all this artificial light, we wouldn't be eating at nighttime. We'd be getting ready for our sleep that He tells us to get enough sleep. And we're going to be able to get enough sleep. So being in line with the scriptures, and we look at the healing and where the real healing comes from. The real healing comes from our Creator. Well, how can that be when there are so many non-believers in this world that seem to experience some healing if they're not in line with our Creator? Well, sad to say, much of the New Age community of the world today are eating closer to what our scriptures say to the way we should eat than many Christians today. I gave you that example about Starbucks and the coffee and the donuts and everything else. Look, if the majority of your diet is fruits and vegetables like it says in the scriptures, and you're eating a little donut or a little coffee, the body's amazing. You can go a long way with that. But if the majority of your diet is donuts and coffee and you're just eating a little fruits and vegetables, that's the opposite. And you're going to get the opposite. But we don't want to hear that because, the doctors don't want to hear that because who's going to go out of business if we're not, if we're all healthy? But people don't want to hear that because we have addictions, we have things we've been used to, but the biggest thing we have is what the scriptures call lack of knowledge. And Hosea 4:6 says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. We have knowledge today how bad cigarettes are for us. But back in the 70s, we didn't have that knowledge. So people smoked and they didn't care because they didn't have that knowledge. Some people still smoked anyway because they were addicted to it. Well, today we have knowledge about how bad cigarettes are, so most people won't smoke. But there are still some people that smoke regardless of the knowledge. Well, the information is coming out now how bad the average food people are eating today. And a lot of people are starting to pay attention to it, but there are still a lot of people that are so addicted to the food, they continue to eat these different things. And I do believe that is part of the curses of disobedience, that we're addicted to things that are killing us. The scriptures talk about these things, and think about it. Somebody might be so overweight, their organs are about to explode, and then they'll continue to eat unhealthy things. That's like somebody with lung cancer continuing to smoke. It's an addiction, it's a curse, and it needs to be broken. Remember, if you keep doing the same thing and expect a different result, That's the definition of insanity. Every one of us has the capability of being healed of every single disease out there. There's not one disease on the planet that somebody hasn't been healed of. We just gotta figure out what it is, and it begins with eliminating things from our diet and our lifestyle, not adding things. So before we go out and spend all this money on all these different programs and all these special machines, we gotta think, what is causing the problem that we need to eliminate? And it's often some type of food or what we're doing with it, the time we're eating it, or it's not getting in tune with the way we should be living our lives and when we should be sleeping, when we should be up and eating. And this is a big impact on our overall health. There's a tremendous difference between energy and stimulation. And I have a YouTube channel called Raw Life Health Show. And I interview a lot of people. I wrote a book here called The Raw Life. And I interview a lot of people who have been eating pretty much a Genesis 120 diet, mostly, if not all. I choose to do it all. But if you eat mostly fruits and vegetables in your diet, again, there's room for a little bit of other stuff, but you can't do it the other way around. But people are doing it the other way around, and this is why so many people are suffering today. We have to admit to ourselves, we either have a lack of knowledge, we either are addicted, or we have a curse that we need to break. Because if we figure out which one of those and then we identify which one of those, and they can be all three, that's where the healing will start to begin. It says in John 8:32, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. You have to be true with yourself. I know people, and they have all the common sicknesses. If you're eating too much food, too often and too late, diabetes, obesity, heart issues. These aren't necessarily what type of food you're eating only, but how much of it you're eating. Way more than we should ever eat. This is why Ellen White said in her books and her health books, 2 meals a day. So we can get away with 3 meals a day. The average person today, between their snacks and the meals and everything, might be eating 5 to 10 times a day. The body doesn't know the difference between a snack or a meal. It has to work every time you put food in your body. You go down and you look at some long-lived people that live in the Caribbean or some other islands around the world, and they don't have technology and all this stuff. They're going to sleep early. They're not eating many times throughout the day. They're eating very simple, not processed food, and they're living at old age without medication, and they're doing great. You come to the sophisticated world today, people have all the technology and everything else, they're getting less sleep, they have more stress, and they're eating all day long without even looking at what they're eating and thinking about what they're eating. And when you compare what they're doing in their lifestyle to Scripture, it's farther and farther away in the so-called sophisticated world. But these simple places around the world, you got the oldest living people, and they're healthy and they're happy. We all have the opportunity and the capability of doing that, but we have to wake up and do it. A lot of people don't want to let go of the identification that they get when they have certain illnesses and things like this, because you get treated in a good way. If you told, I know a family member of mine who had cancer, they treated her, she was like she won the lotto. They gave her everything she wanted, and they treated her so great and wonderful. A healthy person, they didn't want to, they weren't interested in that person. So the person emotionally gets attached to their disease. You got to try to let go to that. And so I see a lot of people go to Hippocrates Health Institute. And I'll tell anyone right here, since we live here locally, and I don't work for them, but they, through Yah sending me there, a wonderful creator sending me there, I was healed of a deadly disease that's still deadly. You can go there for lunch or dinner or every day and get an idea of what healthy food is, and they're leaving the bad stuff out. How do you identify the bad stuff? Go to your store and you scan the barcode. Don't argue with your phone. Don't argue with the result. If it says not Bobby approved, it'll tell you why if you want to look, but you'll be surprised how much. You could go to your house and look at the food around your house and see what it says. And most people that say, oh, well, all this food in my house is not approved, but they'll finish eating it anyway. Get rid of it. And say, our Creator, He keeps it so simple. So simple. fruits and vegetables. Now people say the fruits and vegetables are messed up today and everything else. They are. They are. Just get that now. Grow it yourself. It's not complicated. I have a website called Fruitful Trees where I teach people, they're called food forests, how to grow your own food. And I grow sprouts in my house. You don't even need land to grow food these days. Grow your own food and keep it simple. The more complicated and sophisticated you make it, then we get into problems. Now, there are some people that already have advanced stages of certain diseases and so on, and there are some doctors that understand about how to help them heal, and they can heal, and they're good doctors to work with. But as I said, an emergency room doctor is wonderful, but for the most part, doctors are trained in more drug therapy and controlling disease than everything else. So make the right decisions, and I invite you all to contact me whenever you need to. I'm here every week. And go to my YouTube channel, Raw Life Health. You'll see the interviews I have with the people on there. Sometimes I have lunches and I teach people how to make healthy foods by just leaving the bad stuff out. I've never had a cup of coffee in my life. I don't eat any processed sugar. Me personally, I'm a vegan. Does everyone know what a vegan is? Yeah. Does anyone not know? A vegan is somebody who doesn't eat any animals or anything that comes from that animal, and they don't talk to anyone who does. No, I eat a raw vegan diet. I don't even eat cooked food. But that's me. I feel good doing that. I grow my own food and so on. But again, it's not about perfection. It's doing a little bit better. And when I see people that are sick, I say, well, how much fresh raw fruits and vegetables are you eating? And when they think about it, it's mostly not, it's processed food. If it comes in a bag, box, container, or can, take out your phone and see if that's a Bobby app to it and see if it's approved. There's a lot more to this. There's a lot more things we can get into from a physical standpoint and a spiritual standpoint. But I think my time's up because they told me I only have a certain amount of time. And if you have questions, I usually take questions, but time's up. I want to stick to the schedule. I'm all about sticking to schedules, so that's that. So is my time up? Am I right? Okay, good. I'm good. Hippocrates Health Institute. HIPPOCRATES. Health Institute, and you can have lunch or dinner there. There's a small fee every day except Wednesday. What? It's right on Okeechobee and Skis Road, which is Okeechobee, 1 block from Jock. All right, again, there's not many churches teaching about health, and I'm so thankful that Pastor welcomed this topic here today and other days as well. And I'm happy there's no fried chicken today. So thank you. Yes. Okay, Raw Life Health Show on YouTube. Raw. Anyone here from New York? You could translate. Raw Life Health Show. And then also Fruitful Trees. Yes. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this blessed day, and thank you for this Sabbath day, and thank you for this message here of just this day of health and all these messages. And I pray that everyone, or at least someone here, will make the changes they need to draw closer and being obedient to you and experiencing the blessed of health. I pray this in Yeshua Jesus' name. Hallelujah. All right. Thank you. Good job, Mom. Thank you, sir. We got you right there at the top.
Testing. Okay, it works. Good afternoon, everyone. Let's pray. Father God, we come before you, Lord, to put you first and foremost. We thank you for this beautiful day you have given us, Lord. I pray this day is a day of transformation, a day of learning for knowledge and wisdom, Lord, that you will speak through me, Holy Spirit. Lead us today, Lord. Help us, Lord, to be more like you, Jesus. Jesus, you are the ultimate healer. We are here, Lord, to glorify your holy name. We are your hands and feet. And I pray the information I give to people today will transform them and improve their health, the health of their families, for their children, for their children's children, and for many generations to come. Thank you, Lord. It's an honor and privilege to serve you, Lord. Use me today. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. I want to thank Pastor Juan for having me here. My name is Dr. Aaron Chadwick, my beautiful wife, Dr. Wanda Chadwick. And we're holistic doctors of functional medicine for 35 years. And I've learned a lot of things over 35 years. We started at 10. I'm an expert in blood work analysis. I'm a diplomat in herbal medicine. So I'm like a pharmacist for herbs. And in studying natural medicine, some of the things I've learned is that God made us all unique. Nobody's the same. And we have what we refer to in natural medicine as constitutions. And they're different. So when we put plans together for our patients, we base it on their constitution and how that herbal medicine is going to affect them. For example, you can have a cold, right? A cold or flu. But did you know there's different types of cold or flu, right? So, and you can use a whole bunch of herbal medicines that work for colds and flus. A lot of you are islanders and, from the Caribbean, and you've used those for generations, and that's wonderful. I'm able to kind of put together into the different categories to affect that person differently. Because some people have what's called a cold heat. They have a cold like a flu can be cold or hot, right? Some people have sweating, they have fever, they have body aches, right? Another person can be freezing and not have any fever, right? Still have a cold, but he treated differently. So we treat the person, not the disease. But today I want to talk about really important subjects that affect many, many people. Diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. So let's get into this. Okay. Let's see if I can make this thing go from this far. It's on. Let me try it. Can you turn it for me from back there? Okay. So are you ready? Okay, sure. It's got wheels. That's awesome. Oh, can you guys see this? Okay. So there's a lot of confusion out there, like Paul was saying too, about the relationship between food and diseases, and what should you follow? The newest thing is like the carnivore diet, and there's all these different diets. I'm not against any one of them, but I just kind of learned over the years that we have to base it on the person. And let me just give you a little bit of background about me. From the ages of 15 years old to 20 years old, for 5 straight years, I suffered from severe cystic acne. My skin had boils on it. I took the antibiotic tetracycline 3 times a day for those 5 years. Every day. If I missed 1 dose, I would get a 2-inch pustule on my face, full of pus. And back then, we were very poor. I was a child. There was 6 of us. My mom raised 6 kids by herself. I would go down to Jackson Memorial Hospital in Miami, and the student doctors would work on me because it was free. So they would take, the student doctors, hypodermic needles and stick it in my face and suck the pus out. Was not fun. But at 20 years old, my dad said, you need to look into nutrition. So I was shopping one day at a store in Miami, and I came across this book. It's called The Nutrition Almanac, and that book changed my life. I started reading it, and all the dermatologists put in beyond all this antibiotics. it started talking about the relationship between food and diet and your skin health, how different nutrients like vitamin A and zinc and different herbs like dandelion and burdock could help your skin. And I didn't know any better. I was a kid, I was eating junk food. I stopped eating the junk food. Within a year, my skin cleared up. So I had an epiphany, an aha moment. I said, Lord, doctors can't help me. They didn't help me. They tried. They really tried. So at that point, I went back to school, and that's when I got my deep dive into nutrition. I got my certified nutrition degree. I became a doctor, and I just started studying all the research on this relationship, and it started to make sense to me. And I couldn't understand why the other doctors weren't looking at that. But that was my catapulted me. My own personal health challenges catapulted me to what I do today, for 35 years later. So I've learned some things. Okay, so here's a, next one, please. Here's a question. So why do people get sick? You can guess, that's A, B, or C. Bad luck, bad B, bad genes, C, bad choices. Raise your hand if you think it's A, bad luck. Okay, good. B, bad genes, okay? Genes. C, bad choices, okay, yeah. And the answer is, it's mostly C, right? Bad choices. The genes you don't have genes that cause sickness. You can have genes that have been, it's called, they're SNPs, they're changes in the gene that can give you a more likelihood of having a disease, but it's not genetic. And you got to get over this situation where it's familial. Well, I have it because my parents had it. Yeah, that's true because you ate the same. You eat the same. It's not genes. It's not, and because that takes away your power. When you say, oh, it's my genes, or it's my family had it. I just have to be diabetic. I have to have high blood pressure. I have to have cancer. Incorrect. Not scientifically founded. Okay, next one, please. Okay, so bad choices, right? Okay, next one. And Paul shared this Bible verse, Hosea, right? So my people perish because of lack of knowledge. We get that. So the next one I chose, next slide. It doesn't seem to be working, babe. He's doing it from back there. So James 1:5, right? If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives it to us liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him. So today I hope to depart some wisdom to you. Next slide, please. Okay, so you've seen a cat, right? You step on a cat's tail, the cat screams from its mouth. Here's the question. What's bothering the cat? Is it the tail or is it the mouth? It's the tail because you stepped on it, but the mouth is screaming. When your sugar is high, we want to give you medicine to suppress the sugar. The sugar is the result of things going on inside your body that most doctors don't look at. When you have high blood pressure, it's the same thing. You have this number that keeps going up, but that's the result of a problem inside. My wife and I have coined the term, we get to the root cause of your problem. Because you can have 10 people in a room who have high blood pressure, who have diabetes, and they have different origins, like the church, right? Different origins. And it's not all the same. But today I'm going to give you some examples about what the commonalities are, things they have in common. Okay, next one, please. Hold on. Okay, so diabetes is also called insulin resistance, right? 40% of the people 18 to 44 years have insulin resistance. It's not a fun thing. That's more than 100 million people in the United States. That's a lot of people. We don't have that under control, ladies and gentlemen. So what does it mean? I'm going to explain it to you very simply. When we eat too many processed foods, we chew them, we swallow them, it goes into our bloodstream. Now, our cells like sugar. They need it to survive. But when we get too much sugar, our body produces another hormone called insulin. made in the pancreas. It's a chaperone. Everybody say chaperone. So the insulin is a chaperone that carries the sugar from your blood to your cell. Got it? So as the insulin grabs onto the sugar, it comes to your cell. The insulin and sugar knock on the cell door. There's a door, all the cells of your body, trillions of them. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. We have over 100 trillion cells in our body. And the insulin goes over to the cell with the sugar and knocks on the cell door, and the cell door opens up. And there's a big bouncer standing there. His name is Joey. And Joey looks out, he sees the insulin, he sees the sugar. He says, okay, come on in here, make energy. So Joey allows him to come in. But when you eat too many processed foods and a high amount of sugar, it overwhelms Joey. So Joey gets upset. So he doesn't let the sugar and the insulin come into the cell to make energy. So technically, Joey is resisting the insulin. You get it? That's what insulin resistance means. He's resisting the insulin, even though the cell needs it. Because it's too much, Joey's upset. It's kind of like a teenager. I mean, they want to borrow your car, Pastor, right? You let her borrow the car, but you say no, and she gets mad. She goes to her room. She slams the door, and she's in there for 2 hours pouting. She comes out later, and she's calm. But the cell doesn't like it. Joey doesn't like it. And that creates inflammation in your cells. So now that sugar and the insulin, they got to go somewhere. So they go to your liver. Your liver has 500 jobs. And now we put more pressure on the liver to break down the sugar and the insulin, right? What does it do with the sugar? It turns it into something you may have heard of. It's called triglycerides. Triglycerides is just a fancy word for blood fat in your blood. Triglycerides are fat in your blood. The extra sugar is turned into fat in your blood. Your blood is a watery substance. The fat doesn't mix with the water. You ever put a drop of oil on a glass of water? It floats to the top, right? That's not good for your body. You can die real quick if there's too many triglycerides in your body. So your liver converts the triglycerides into, it takes the triglyceride first and it calls a taxi cab, or today is an Uber, right? So it calls the Uber for the extra triglycerides. That Uber carries that triglyceride to the fat cell. And most of us don't like to see that happen, but it turns that triglyceride into stored body fat. The Uber is called cholesterol. So the cholesterol is the taxi cab Uber that carries the sugar from the blood into the fat cell. So your cholesterol goes high, right? And your triglycerides and your sugar. All right. Hold on. All right. Next one, please. So 80% of diabetes can be prevented or reversed. How? By, first of all, slowing down the amount of those processed foods we put in. But it's not that simple, easy. Not that easy sometimes too, right? Because we need certain nutrients to get that sugar also. When Joey's there at the cell membrane, he needs helpers. There's different minerals and nutrients that carry the sugar into the cell. So we need to replenish the good nutrients. And this is where the uniqueness comes in, the constitution comes in, because your need for minerals is different from yours. So when I look at a blood test, I'm looking at what your body needs right then and replenishing those. So it's individualized. So we have to replenish those good nutrients. And then we also have to get rid of that excess sugar too. And unfortunately, there's a lot of toxins there too. So going back to Joey, when Joey is telling the sugar not to come in, he's calling his friends to help him. When he starts calling his friends, we call that inflammation. You've heard the term inflammation? All inflammation is when there are certain immune cells that get excited and get called upon to come help Joey. That's called inflammation. We need a little bit of inflammation. When we get too much of it, it becomes a problem, okay? So we don't want to have too much inflammation. All right. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, so heart disease. That's the number one killer, right? I said 100 million people with diabetes. 900,000 people died last year of heart disease. I'm telling you that not to make you feel gloom and doom. You can reverse it and you can help it. But understanding that it's everywhere and we don't have control over that as far as modern medicine goes. Because 900,000 people died last year. And I'm telling you that too because people take a pill, and what I say is they have a false sense of security. I take my little pill in the morning and I'm okay. You feel lousy, but you take it and your blood pressure number looks better, but is it helping you? 900,000 people dying? There are better ways. But heart disease is a combination of different things. It's high blood pressure, right? High cholesterol is part of heart disease, right? We all know about cholesterol. We know that strokes are part of heart disease. We know that, did you know that vein problems, like when you have varicose veins, that's heart disease. When you have a hemorrhoid, that's heart disease. When you have continual bloodshot eyes, that's heart disease. An eye doctor, an ophthalmologist, can predict heart disease very easily by looking at the veins in the back of your eyes. Because if they're congested back there, they're congested everywhere else, right? Vein problems, how about irregular heartbeats? You heard of atrial fibrillation, or you get racy heart or irregular heartbeat. That's part of heart disease. Here are some of the symptoms too. Dizziness, lightheadedness, poor circulation, numbness and tingling in your hands and feet or your legs. Those are signs of heart disease. Heart disease does not develop from one day to the next. It takes many years to develop heart disease, okay? All right. Next one, please. So, explain to you what heart disease is. Okay, let's go to the next one. So that's just a picture of an artery there. This yellow stuff is plaque. You've heard of plaque, right, on the artery wall. Of course, what happens is, now here's a little bit of a connection. So plaque is a big problem. Many people know about cholesterol. They say cholesterol makes plaque, but it's not just cholesterol. When we have the excess sugar in our blood, that sugar is very active and it attaches itself to the red blood cell. We call it glycation. So imagine too much sugar grabs onto the red blood cell and it's floating around in the blood. Now, our arteries, like the aortic artery here, they're thick and they're designed to carry the blood through them, right? And they stretch. So a heartbeat goes boom, 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 boom. That's the artery stretching and relaxing, stretching and relaxing, stretching and relaxing, right? Now, that's physical wear and tear. So some people get heart disease because they get normal wear and tear. Now, God gave us a way of repairing the normal wear and tear with good nutrients, like on Paul's point, fruits and vegetables contain many wonderful nutrients that help the artery lining stay healthy. Because as that artery lining opens and closes, relaxes and contracts, boom, 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 it causes microscopic tears on the wall. So the body doesn't want to get a break in that artery. That's called a stroke or a heart attack. So it takes the cholesterol. It's like past plaster. It sticks it on the wall to try to protect it. So cholesterol is not the problem. It's like the cat. It's the mouth screaming. So the scientists are looking at that cholesterol. Oh, look at that plaque. It's bad. Look at that calcium on your arteries, because calcium is there too. It's bad. But it's what we do, we put into our bodies that make a difference. And you have control over that. The magic pill is not going to help you. Cholesterol medication has less than a 1% help rate. less than 1%. Look it up. But there's different ways that they manipulate the studies. It doesn't help you that much. So, but what the sugar floats around, the cholesterol is part of it. The sugar damages the cholesterol. It's called oxidation. But fruits and vegetables, guess what? They have antioxidants, antioxidation. You eat more fruits and vegetables, you protect your heart. It's not bad luck. It's not bad genes. It's bad choices, either knowingly or unknowingly. Okay. Go to the next one, please. So I mentioned the signs ready for heart disease. The next slide, please. So here's another interesting sign. It's pretty accurate. You get a 300% increase in your possibility of getting heart disease if you have a diagonal crease in your earlobe. Documented through science. You want to look at your earlobe, your friend's earlobe, your husband? If that means you have a higher 300% increase in heart disease with that little crack, because the earlobe is very vascular, has a lot of blood flowing to it. When that crack is there, there's not a lot of blood flow, just like in your body. So it's not a good thing. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next slide. So now we're going to come back and we're going to put it all together. We're going to put together the diabetes, the heart disease, and the cancer. So you see how the diabetes is related to the heart disease? And let me just say, too, as that plaque builds up about the heart disease, yes, that's what causes high blood pressure. It's part of it, too. But listen, as your sugar goes up, it makes the blood thicker. When the blood is too thick, it doesn't flow. As men, we don't like that because that's called ED. Right? And women, we don't like it either because that dizziness and lightheadedness, and that's varicose veins. So we run to the vein doctor and get an injection, saline and get it all out. Not the best way of handling it. Okay, so what is cancer? Next slide, please. So God is so amazing. So normal cells live anywhere from a few days to about a year, right? So when you have cells together, let's say you have muscle cells together, the cells vibrate. They're on a frequency. God gave us that frequency. It vibrates. So when a cell gets old, guess what? It slows down. It's vibrating. So the cell next to it feels that, hey, my next door neighbor over here, he ain't doing too well. He's slowing down. He's dying. And it happens. It's normal. That process happens 1 billion times a day. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. But the cell next to it, he gets the signal, and guess what he does? He cuts himself in half. Takes that DNA, cuts it right down the middle, and makes 2 halves and makes another whole cell. That's beautiful, and that's the harmony that happens all the time. Now, in order for those new cells to go together and for them to divide correctly, we need something called folate. What is folate? Folate comes from the Latin word foliage. It's greens, spinach, kale, collards, bok choy. They all have folate. That folate allows the cells to divide naturally. If you're a pregnant woman, you need enough folate for that baby because the baby's cells are dividing very rapidly. So we check you, but everybody needs folate. If you're low in folate as the cell divides, sometimes it makes a mistake, especially when there's not enough folate or vitamin B12. They help the cells divide. So if you're low in folate and B12, you have a higher propensity towards cancer. Now, because it goes on all the time, you use up nutrients to make those cells healthy. One of the most important nutrients for cancer prevention is magnesium. 85% of the population is deficient in the minimum requirements of magnesium, not the average, the minimum. 85% of you guys don't have enough magnesium. And the magnesium builds a part of your cells that watches the damage. It's kind of like a train track. It's going up down a train track, watching all your cells. When there's a damage to a cell, the magnesium stops. It says, hey, let's fix that cell, and it fixes it. No cancer. If you don't have enough magnesium, guess what? Cancer. Not good. That's just one, but it's a big part because so many people are deficient. But that folate, B12, and the magnesium. So those are some normal cells there. We are wonderfully and amazingly made. Okay, next one. So how do these things work together? The diabetes, the heart disease, and the cancer. Again, the sugar, right, turns into fat, which raises your cholesterol. Now, another thing that happens, so now you have high cholesterol. And then when the cholesterol is high, you take the fat, the triglycerides, to the fat cell, you gain weight. You get fatter, right? I'm gonna talk about all this, bring it all together. And another thing that happens as there's too much sugar in your body, sugar is acid. Dr. Otto Warburg, back in the 1940s, won a Nobel Prize because he said there's some common traits in cancer cells. They like to live in an acid environment, right? And they don't like to live around oxygen. So if the sugar produces a more acidic environment, not good for cancer, okay? And if you have insulin resistance, the cell is not getting the sugar into it, so the cell doesn't get enough oxygen. It's drowning. So the cell will turn into a different way of making energy. That's what cancer is also. So cancer is damage. The sugar damages the cell, and the lack of oxygen causes the cells to procreate unnecessarily. All right, almost finished. So, next slide, please. So this is Jane, okay? Jane Doe, standard American diet. Go to the next slide, please. That's Joe, okay? Standard American diet. Go back, please, to the last slide to Jane for me. Okay. So Joe and Jane, they're not real people because we got to protect, there's HIPAA laws, we can't talk about real people, but these are very common situations. This is their journey. They got together when they were really young. They were met in high school, right? He was a football star and she was a cheerleader. They had a wonderful time together early. They quickly became inseparable. In their early 20s, they got married. So, right? So, it was John and I call him Joe at one point, but maybe his name is John here. But anyway, John and Jane got married, right? And they were doing pretty good. They had their careers, they're making money, right? Jane was selling flowers online, and Joe was he was a supervisor at a store. Anyway, so they reached their 20s together in their early 30s, and she started taking the birth control pill because she didn't want to get pregnant yet. So she's taking that. And then as they get into their early 30s, they notice changes in their health. They weren't feeling well. They were tired a lot. They were gaining a lot of weight. They were eating the standard American diet, a lot of processed food, right? And so they were feeling tired. Joe, to get over his tiredness, was drinking 5 cups of coffee a day. And it still wasn't helping him. He still was tired. This happens a lot, right? So they went to their doctor for a routine checkup. And the doctor showed that they were both borderline diabetic. They weren't diabetic yet, they were just borderline, right? So doctor says, eat a balanced diet, whatever that means. So he tells them that, come back in 6 months. So they came back, and they were still feeling lousy, even worse, and the cholesterol is creeping up. The sugar was still borderline, so he put him on cholesterol medication. Now they're taking cholesterol medication, right? Remember, cholesterol carries the extra triglyceride to the fat cell to be stored. So if you stop making too much cholesterol, what happens to the sugar in your blood? Well, I'll tell you, it goes up. Now you're a full-blown diabetic. So now Jane is taking birth control and cholesterol medication. And John or Joe, he was having stress from work, so he was borderline blood pressure. Remember, because his blood's getting thicker from all that sugar, so now he's on a blood pressure medicine. So he's taking blood pressure, she's on cholesterol and the birth control, but he's also taking cholesterol medication, 2 medications each in their early 30s, right? And again, a year goes by, they go back. Now, guess what? Oh my God, now they're diabetic. What a surprise. Because a suppressing of the cholesterol made them diabetic. Cholesterol medication, another side effect of cholesterol medication and sugar medication, there's something in your cells called the mitochondria. I don't know if you ever heard of that, mitochondria. It's like the power plant of your cell where the energy's made. The diabetes medicine damages the mitochondria. Yeah, it keeps what the diabetes medicine does, it keeps the sugar inside the liver, but it doesn't help you. Metformin does not help you, people. It's controlling the number, but the problems are getting worse and worse. Okay, so now, as they they're still gaining weight, and they're like, man, I'm tired, I'm gaining weight. Their muscles start hurting because cholesterol medication is notorious causing muscle pain. So they're taking Advil and aspirin a few times, popping that every day, right? That's damaging the lining of their stomach, so now they're developing ulcers. And then their kidneys start to get stressed out, and they're like, man, we feel terrible. I'm in our mid-30s here. So and they're gaining more and more weight. Now, as the female gains more weight, she starts to make an enzyme. It's called aromatase. The aromatase takes the estrogen and speeds it up. So she gets more estrogen. Some people with the aromatase and the excess insulin will downregulate the estrogen. Either way, a female who's overweight is going to have menstrual problems and inability to get pregnant because of the insulin resistance. You got to check your insulin in your blood to see if you have insulin resistance. The hemoglobin A1C and the glucose is not good enough. I'm going to give you some stuff at the end, what to check for. So they're going along. So now her hormones are wacky. And she's crying all the time. She's overweight. And from all that hormones, now instead of getting balanced, she has more testosterone. So guess what? Her hair's falling out. And she's gaining facial hair. She is not a happy camper. She's depressed. All right. So she's got to take, now she's taking an antidepressant. So now she's on antidepressant. I got to finish up here. Antidepressant, right? And then they want to put on the GLP-1, Ozempic, right? Not a good thing to do because that's going to deplete all your protein. And the research on GLP-1 shows you if you lose the muscle mass while you're on GLP-1s, you're never going to get it back. You'll look skinny, but you'll look like a skeleton. And you won't be healthy because you'll have sarcopenia. You'll have more fat and less muscle. Not a good place to be, especially for energy. Okay, next one. All right. Let's see, hold on. Almost finished here. Joe, okay. So here's the right test. Next one, please. So when you do the healthy lifestyle, you look better. That's a good thing. Next one, please. Okay, so these are the right tests. You want your cholesterol between 180 and 210, triglycerides. I can send you a copy of this if you see my wife and give her information, she'll send you a copy of this. But these are tests that most doctors don't run. But these are the clues of how you get sick. And it's behind the scenes. But if you don't test them, you don't know. 95% of my patients have problems in these areas. No wonder they don't feel well, because these are markers of inflammation, there are markers of blood clotting, there are markers of sugar and infections and stuff, but they're not looked at. But we look at them. We do very comprehensive tests. All right, I'm almost finished. So we do offer a free 15-minute consultation. Next slide, please. A free 15-minute consultation. You can text to that number there. My wife is back there. She brought her computer. She can put you in if you'd like a free consultation. We're here to help you. And Okay, that's next slide, please. Last slide. Thank you. And the questions will be answered on the panel. Okay? Thank you very much for your time.
At this time, we're going to take a short break, 5 minutes, because no one is touching the dessert table. So we want you to pick up your desserts at this time. And it's all vegan, very low sugar, healthy. Okay? So please get your dessert, and in 5 minutes, we'll have the next speaker. Thank you. Last name? Monestine. Yes. So she'll be coming up now to talk about IV, green IV hydration. Thank you.
All right, so quick question. Who here loves needles? Exactly. Nobody loves needles. But we do wake up excited when we have more energy. We don't feel sluggish, and we just feel better overall. Today, I want to speak about something simple yet powerful: hydration, overall wellness, and how IV therapy can support your body in today's busy world. My name is Whitney Monestein. I'm a family nurse practitioner and founder and owner of Green IV Hydration. So, what is even IV therapy? Out of curiosity, has anyone here ever had an IV drip before outside of the hospital setting? Okay, a few hands. Or for those that may not know, IV therapy is simply receiving fluids, vitamins, and minerals directly into the bloodstream. So typically when you take vitamins by mouth, it first has to go through the digestive system before it's absorbed, before the body's able to absorb it and utilize it. And during this process, not everything is being absorbed. So with IV therapy, the body's able to receive it quicker and use it more efficiently, being able to use nearly 100% of that bioavailability. And that's one of many reasons why people choose IV therapy when they're especially feeling really sluggish, dehydrated, or recovering from recent illness or travel. So why hydration matters? So we live in South Florida. Half of us are already dehydrated by lunch. So many of us walk around dehydrated without even knowing it. So picture this. You just had a wonderful, restful night. You slept for 8-9 hours. But yet you woke up and you still feel sluggish. You still not refreshed and no energy. Who's been there? Exactly. So this can all be connected to your hydration and nutrient levels. Hydration is one of the most important parts of overall wellness. Our body relies on water for almost every major function. Our body's made up of nearly 60% of water. So even mild dehydration can affect us physically and mentally. So low energy, difficulty concentrating, headaches, brain fog, muscle cramps, all of these can be signs of dehydration. So why do people get IV hydration? So one popular reason why clients come to me is for low energy. A lot of people are looking for energy, and they kind of want to move away from caffeine and energy drinks. So we can tailor the vitamins that support energy production, so such as vitamin B complex, B12. Another common reason is after recent travel. So maybe you've had travelers diarrhea, vomiting after traveling overseas, or maybe you just had the stomach bug. So IV drips after going through that can really help replenish you, and those clients really tend to feel really good almost immediately after. Another common reason is recovery support. So we're talking athletes, people who work out a lot, they like to do it as well. Another reason, and also a huge misconception as to the only reason why people do this, is hangover drips. I know we're in church, but maybe you had too much wine. It's okay. You wake up the next day, you may have a headache. So doing this can really help you feel better. And in this drip, we also can target symptoms such as headaches and nausea by giving you medication along with vitamins to replenish and fluids. And another popular reason, which is my favorite, immunity support. I have a toddler in daycare, and what do they bring home? Who has babies? Exactly. So I don't know about you, but I always get sick when my baby gets sick. So now, every time when I feel a little tinkle, I give myself a drip and I don't get sick. So that's one of my favorite reasons for doing it, and we just focus on immunity vitamins if that's the reason why you're doing it. And that's actually how I got started back in 2020. Who remembers COVID? It's already been nearly a decade. But I don't know about you, I was scared. I did not want to get sick. So during that time, I remember thinking, how can I support my body? And someone told me about IV hydration. So I went to a clinic, I did a drip, I dragged my husband along. We were dripping all year. I'm not saying that's the reason why we didn't get sick, but we did not get sick. So that's some of the many reasons why people do it. And the benefits, like I said, mental clarity, faster recovery, energy. I do just want to note, this is health optimization. This does not replace medical care. So although this can be very beneficial, it is not for everyone. There are medical conditions that can increase risk of complications. So proper screening and assessment is always done before receiving a drip. Client safety is our top priority, so just a heads up. So like I said before, so IV hydration is just fluids and vitamins, and we tailor the vitamins according to your need. So you're probably wondering, where do I start? What do I do? So I just want to go over some popular vitamins that a lot of people talk about. And if you don't want to sit for a drip, you can also just get a shot. So vitamin B12, very, very popular. It's used for energy production. People like to use it for energy, mental clarity, also supports metabolism. Painless, you get it, and you're on your way. Vitamin D. We are in the Sunshine State. We get it for free. However, you would be surprised by how many people are low in vitamin D. We do not go outside. It's too hot. I'm inside too. So vitamin D is another popular injection. This is just an injection. You don't get it through the veins. Vitamin D is also one to be careful of because too much vitamin D can be toxic. So this is one where we would probably have to see levels, but if your joints hurt, you probably are low in vitamin D. And another popular add-on, glutathione. Who can say that 3 times? But it's often called the body's master antioxidant because it helps protect and support the body at the cellular level. So once again, really good for immunity. And some people like doing this at high doses. It can help with skin clarity. So why choose IV hydration? So like I said previously, I started this because I was doing it myself, and I loved the benefits and how I felt. And this was something that I felt like, wow, a lot of people in my community don't know about this. So I wanted to let people know about this, make it accessible, and really help people feel good about themselves. We are a mobile IV hydration service, so we come to you wherever, whenever. So at home, at work, if you have that kind of job, by the pool, the beach, the beauty salon. I've had a client call me while she was at the beauty salon. She was under the dryer. I dripped her, and then 2 birds with 1 stone. So wherever, whenever. And here are just some pictures and videos where you can see some of the Green IV experience. And that is it, short and sweet. Thank you for your time. Oh, yes. I will give you my contact information. I hope you learned something about IV therapy. I would love to continue to stay connected. Please follow us on Instagram at GIV_hydration. And if you're afraid of needles, it's okay, everyone is. Scan the QR code, fill out the short form, and I would love to connect. Questions or?
About that vitamin B12.
Uh-huh.
I'm 66, but I'm low on vitamin D, so they gave me, the military gave me vitamin D2, but he said I'll be better on vitamin D3. You know anything about that?
Yeah, that's a lot to kind of get in. Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah. Just, Oh, okay. Okay.
Our next speaker will be Dr. Keaton Grant. Please come on forward and share your information with us. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. So My part of the presentation is going to cover bioidentical hormone treatment for both men and women. So a lot of what I discuss, you're going to kind of hear some of the same phrases from some of the other presenters because everything ties together, right? You can't talk about nutrition and not talk about gut health. You can't talk about sleep and also not talk about hormone regulation. Earlier, we did touch on some of those topics. So hormone replacement therapy has been like tabooed for the last 10 years. Women have went untreated. They have done a huge injustice to entire populations. What occurred was there was a women's health initiatives in the 90s where physicians from all over the world were funded by all the developed world governments to do a study to see what the benefits or risk was to give a woman estrogen or progesterone. What occurred from that study was they enrolled women that were already 60 years old, which pretty much 10 years past menopause. So they studied patients that weren't even menopausal. The next issue with the study was they never got any evidence of anything. But they got a lot of money from the world's government, so they had to come up with a conclusion. So the conclusion was estrogen caused cancer, right? The estrogen they studied was not bioidentical estrogen, which is what we're going to cover today, not the estrogen that's inside of our body. It was synthetic estrogen. But if you paid attention, you could tell that this was not true because at the same time they told women that estrogen caused cancer, they gave birth control to all the teenage girls from my generation, right? So if estrogen caused cancer, why did they prescribe birth control to an entire generation, right? So we're going to kind of dig into it a little bit because not treating women that were having hormone dysregulation led to increased cardiac issues, which was the heart attack that killed all the people that they mentioned last year. A lot of those could have been prevented if there was some kind of intervention and we paid more attention to what they have going on. This is something that's affecting everyone in here right now. If you're past your 20s, you're pretty much going through this right now, whether you're male or female. All right, so what happened last year was the FDA finally removed the black box warning. They admit they got it wrong. After that, whoever is taking like estradiol patches, you're probably having a hard time getting it right now. It's on back order. Everyone's rushing to the pharmacy and trying to get on hormone replacement therapy. They're all having symptoms of perimenopausal issues, increased anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, stroke, heart attack, and increase in some cancers from not being treated appropriately. So what BHRT is you use hormones from natural sources, usually plants, like the yam. These are hormones that have been used for thousands of years before they just gave women yam. The issue is our bodies cannot convert the yam to usable hormones. We also get testosterone from these same yams. So BHRT, so my background, I'm an owner of a compounding pharmacy. We get the ingredients and we create customized medication based on specific doses that you can, adjust based on different needs. So it's not testosterone or estrogen like what bodybuilders are using, like higher doses of testosterone. It's a small amount, kind of to get your body where it was before, to reduce some of the side effects or some of the issues you're having. Both men and women actually need testosterone. So if you're having bone pain, fractures, or you went to go do something and you broke a joint, it's probably because you didn't have enough testosterone inside your body. That's what protects women's bones from fractures. So these are like the main hormones that you might hear about. We have estrogen, progesterone, and then we have DHEA, which is a precursor to testosterone as well. And there's also thyroid hormones, T3, T4, there's oxytocin. But I could probably talk for hours about different hormones. So what your hormones are is the Wi-Fi signal that your cells use to communicate. So if you don't have Wi-Fi in your house, everyone goes crazy. They reset the router. They call the company. Everyone's panicking. But a lot of us, the Wi-Fi isn't working inside our bodies, and no one's concerned, right? So we're having an increase in depression, anxiety in both men and women. Around age 30, 40, that's when divorce rate increased. It could be the fact that you probably should have went to the doctor and got your blood work done, right? Because fixing hormones has been shown to be more effective at treating depression than antidepressant medications, because the same symptoms of depression is also similar to those that have low estrogen or low testosterone. But estrogen isn't for everyone. Some people do have estrogen dysregulation, like the doctor mentioned earlier. Some people are aromatized a little bit more. They have too much estrogen. They might just need progesterone, but we wouldn't know if you're not being treated for it. So this is the yam. It has a little bit of history behind it. They've used it in Africa, Asia. They've used it for decades to treat hormonal issues. Women that are menopausal, they had them eat a lot of this. In Nigeria, they tell women when they're pregnant to eat yams to pretty much increase the health of the baby or even have twins. I don't know if it works, but so a lot of symptoms that people get when they have low testosterone or low estrogen, we see this just aging. You know, we end up looking like Jane and Joe that we had earlier. Most of us look like number 3. That's because we're going through a lot of the cellular issues from not having enough of these hormones signaling, telling our body to protect the heart or protect the liver. So we're having increased insulin resistance, like they mentioned earlier. So they're seeing that you have more visceral fat from that. So women and men, after they start going through this process, have like 20% more visceral fat. That's the fat between your organs after your hormones get dysregulated or your body stops working like it's supposed to work. So it's a big issue, right? Because it's tied to all-cause mortality. So everything that kills you increases in frequency after your hormones are out of whack. So there's a few myths when it comes to hormones. So myth 1 is hormone therapy is unsafe for everyone. That's not true. You have to properly screen the patient. You can't just do it based on symptoms. You gotta get the labs done, see what they're actually low in, what do they need, and supplement based on that. So it's like a 2-factor approach. And women don't need testosterone. Women need testosterone for various reasons. Testosterone helps with libido, which is one. They talk about erectile dysfunction. Women also go through that when their testosterone is low. It's more psychological than anything. And also for bone health and overall muscle tone. You need testosterone to maintain your muscle as you age. As we age and as women age, they become higher percent and they become more body fat dominant. And that is because they're getting lower and lower testosterone. To reduce the signs of aging, you need more muscle. The more muscle you have, the slower you age. And to maintain muscle mass, you need to have adequate amount of androgens. You could do everything perfect, and your body could still not produce the amount of androgens you need, even if you're sleeping, eating properly. So there are those patients that should consider this option. So this goes over all the risk of having hormonal decline. So you get metabolic dysregulation, which is pretty much insulin resistance. That means you're gonna have higher triglyceride, you're gonna have diabetes, sarcopenia, and bone loss. Some of us already started seeing that. We get a DEXA scan. They're telling us that we're having osteopenia. Happens in both men and women as we go through this process. And the vascular changes, which is you're more prone to strokes and blood clots. So before the Women's Health Initiative, every time a woman got a stroke, it was protocol worldwide to give them estrogen bioidentical as a prolonged treatment to prevent it from happening again. After the report was released, because they had to say they did something, they completely stopped that. So it usually begins around our 30s, but it happens in our 20s, right? So now, because of how my generation was treated, they're seeing us develop perimenopause or menopause, which is pretty much men not producing enough androgens anymore, at age 25. So a lot of these symptoms start early: brain fog, hot flashes, anxiety, vaginal dryness, memory loss, low libido, and weight gain. So this is pretty much all the things that you start to see as you age, and it gets worse, and it progresses. So the low libido and erectile dysfunction is said to usually occur 5 years before the first heart attack. And having erectile dysfunction just means your blood's not flowing properly anymore. It's too thick. So pretty much this shows that the increase in all-cause mortality for cardiac deaths has been reduced significantly in women that start hormone replacement therapy. So men, we also need to pay attention to our hormones. So there's a thing called menopause, so we also go through stuff too. And one of the biggest signs of it is we start storing more fat around our midsection. We become estrogen dominant. The aromatase that the doctor mentioned earlier, we're also converting the testosterone into estrogen. The estrogen goes to our gut, and it's transformed into a toxic metabolite that goes around, proliferate tumor growth and different things that happen in our body, and things just get worse. Then it increases everything, suicidal rates, cardiac issues, both husband and wife both have low libido, they're gonna get a divorce. All right? So BHRT, so it improves mitochondrial function. So the mitochondria is the engine of the cell. It's what pretty much converts the food you eat into usable energy, right? ATP, action potential. Your body needs to convert at least 100 pounds of ATP each day. So you see the big hype behind creatine right now is because of they're seeing the bodybuilders were right about creatine having benefits because it increases the amount of ATP you put out. So that's why they say every single woman that's going through perimenopause or menopause should be taking creatine. I like creatine, so I would definitely recommend that as well. So the BHRT pretty much increases the stability of all the signals in your body. Helps everything work a little bit better, right? So it's definitely something to consider. There are natural ways of going about this. You don't have to get hormones per se, but you definitely should consider it if it's something that you're having issues with. So another thing is there is some risk with hormone therapies that they have available. So conventional medicine usually avoid giving women with migraines or if they're morbidly obese because they're saying they're having a higher likelihood of having blood clots. That's actually not seen when giving women a topical version versus pills or the synthetic version that they use in traditional medicine. So that's also a misinformation that is affecting women now. Go back. So the likelihood of having a VTE. So we all know someone that might have been affected by this where there was a birth control, it was a shot, it's a progesterone shot, and that one was known to give women strokes. Young women were having strokes during this time. So that one was a synthetic hormone. The synthetic hormones, when they enter your body does not recognize it as actual hormones. If you test a woman's estradiol that's on birth control, the estradiol that they're taking in the birth control will not show up on labs because it's not estradiol. But it does go on the same receptor sites and cause a lot of issues inside the body. But your body doesn't recognize it as something you could use. So this one is talking about the transdermal patch, which you could get at CVS. It's considered a bioidentical hormone, and it is safe, and it doesn't increase the risk of VTEs. So pretty much this covers how you diagnose and decide if it's the right thing for you. So patients with symptoms plus supporting labs. So you can't just base it off symptoms. Some doctors nowadays, like TRT clinics popping up everywhere, they're giving steroids to all the men. That's not really how you go about doing it, and they're basing it off symptoms with no labs at all. You have to have the labs to back it up, otherwise you're kind of just guessing what's going on, and you can't do more damage than good. All right? So the next thing is, who should not get it? People that have active hormone-sensitive cancers, right? Cancer is a disease of the cell. Any cell could become cancerous. There are cancer receptors on some cancer cells, right? And there are some that is just genetic BRCA mutation, there are no receptors on those. So just because someone has had like a breast cancer doesn't mean they shouldn't have hormones, right? The risk versus benefit has to be considered. It might be more beneficial, especially if this patient's having a lot of metabolic issues, they're gaining weight, they're having a lot of insomnia, mental health issues, we probably should consider the low dose amount of estrogen to get them back normalized. So the best treatment option, there's no one size fit all. Topicals are gonna be the safest. For people that have issues with consistency, because you have to use a topical every day. Some of us have little kids. If they brush up against you, you have testosterone on you, you can't get it on the children. Injectable is fine as well. The Troche is helpful for some people. When it comes to progesterone, capsules is usually more recommended. So it really depends. Oh, Troche is like, you know when you get like a cough drop, that's a Troche. It's like a dissolvable hard candy. You put medication in there. This is like the topical version. Just for education, you would never tell a patient to put it on their back like that. It's usually on the inner leg, but you get the point. So that's a Troche right there. It's little pink cubes. You could put testosterone in it, estrogen. I never recommend it mostly to put estrogen at all. Estrogen is better on like a lotion, or if you're gonna put it on the skin, a gel, never by mouth. Mainly because it's directly going into the gut. There's bacteria in your gut that convert estrogen to a toxic form. So you don't wanna introduce estrogen. And some people don't even have the microbiome to even absorb the estrogen anyway, so you don't wanna give it to them by mouth. So BHRT is just one piece of the puzzle. Like we talk about sleep, diet, the rest of it has to be locked in. If you just give it to a patient that's not doing anything at all, they're probably not gonna have much benefit from it. It might end up being worse. Like for instance, if you treat a man with testosterone and he's not working on his body weight, it's just gonna aromatize the estrogen. It's gonna be more estrogen dominant in his body. He's gonna get issues like gynecomastia, more mood changes, more hair loss, and no benefit. So a lot of the other things they mentioned, like the standard American diet, definitely eat more fiber, more protein intake, and also the focus for everyone, male or female, should be building as much muscle as possible. The more muscle you have, the more resistant your body is gonna be to disease, even cancer. They've seen studies where the higher muscle mass you go into a cancer treatment with is the more likely that you're gonna survive that bout with cancer. And to do that, you gotta have your androgens right and make sure your protein intake is up and your fiber intake is up. Will hormones cure everything? No. You're not gonna cure everything with it. No one thing's gonna cure anything. And lifestyle changes is always number one. You wanna exercise more, you wanna move more, you wanna sleep more. I heard the guy earlier, he mentioned eating 2 meals a day. I stick to that as well. That's a real thing. Eating too frequently, your body doesn't have time to repair itself because it's too busy digesting food all day. So less frequent meals with higher protein is important. So my wife and I, we own a compounding pharmacy. So our background, we're both clinical pharmacists. She's an oncology pharmacist. I worked in the emergency department for a few years. I became interested in functional medicine or wellness, which is a trend now, after working during COVID, actually. We were seeing a lot of young people. It was during the Delta strain in Miami. A lot of people were passing on back then, even though we forgot. And we didn't know why, so they came up with risk factors that based on what we were seeing. And when I was looking at the risk factor, I checked every box. I had the same risk factors as the patients that we were coding and intubated. So I became more concerned and fell into the rabbit hole like most of the population. Now we have probably the highest or most educated population in healthcare that we've ever had. Physicians are complaining about it. I accept it. Patients are going to ChatGPT, YouTube. By the time they get to the doctor's office, they know more about a disease than the doctor, right? So we have to kind of catch up to our patients a little bit more. So I decided to start studying as well to make sure that I could assist and help them. So this kind of led us somehow to starting our own compounding pharmacy. We don't just do BHRT. We help with IV bags. We do sterile and non-sterile compounding. We make the glutathione she mentioned. We make everything pretty much. Everything that could assist with physicians and their patients. We also focus on holistic treatments, a lot of herbals, everything. 'Cause everything ties into one. So that's our goal. All right. So if you have any questions. After? Okay. So we could have questions now. Later on? Yes. Oh. Progesterone? It helps with sleep, right? You tried it before?
That was very, very, very educational. I never believed in hormone replacement. Now I do. So I'll be seeing a doctor soon. Oh, I'm supposed to be on the stage. Okay, sorry. Okay, so the same thing I said. That was very, 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 very well done. Everybody who has spoken so far today has educated me, and I hope they have educated you as well. So now we're going to change a little bit, and we're going to go into exercise with none other than our beloved pastor, Pastor Juan Labrador.
All right. I want to let you guys know that I'm working with Dr. Chadwick. He's my doctor back there, and I'm also working with Dr. Keaton. I'm working with all these doctors, doing everything. If I keep going the way I am, pretty soon I'm going to need a child car seat to drive to church. It's because I just believe you got to do everything you can to take care of yourself. You know, we do all these things to buy a house, to do all these things. You know, we do all kinds of stuff, you know, to get a college degree, to do all. And the thing is that none of that really matters if you don't have health. Nothing matters if you don't have health. And a lot of times that's the last thing we worry about, and we worry about when we're sick. When you're healthy, that's the time to take care of all these things, you know, because that way you won't get sick. Every time you're going to get sick, it doesn't matter how well you get from it. It's always going to have some after effect on it. So if you do that, also, you know, I'm not an expert in none of these things. So I'm just talking to you about things that I'm doing, things that I've studied on. So I'm not an expert on this, but scientific studies have proven that the reason why most of you are sick is because you don't give enough tithe and offering. And if you were to do that, you'd be a lot better. That's what the last scientific studies have said. I'm just saying, if you want to live longer, you know, and you want to be healthy. But anyway, what I have discovered in reading about it, because I study a lot about these things, and a lot of you know that I'm always recommending stuff to you. The stuff I talk about, creatine, and I've said everybody needs to be taking creatine. Everybody needs to be taking creatine, and I constantly tell, you know, the women here from church, especially women, you know, need to be taking creatine. You know, I got my wife on creatine, you know. And everybody I talk to, tell them about, you know, you should get on creatine. And the other thing that I've learned, and talking to people and also doing it, is strength exercise. Strength exercise. I know that a lot of people say, you know, you go walking, that's okay. But what the studies have shown, other than the tithe and offering, which, you know, also, but studies have shown that the best anti-aging thing you can do is strength exercise. Okay? And a lot of times they've been told that, you know, when you get old, you get older, you go to the gym, like maybe guys my age, over 50, I'm 64, that because we're old, we're supposed to be lifting light weight. Not true. Not true. You're supposed to be hitting heavy weights. It's not about, doing 3 pounds and doing this. No, we're supposed to be doing heavy weight, low reps, because you want to build muscle. And building muscle is essential for us. You can read that anywhere. You can talk to the doctors that are here about it. and it's just a truth. You can walk a lot. You can do even do a lot of cardio, and it's not going to help you as much. In fact, they've discovered that doing going on the thing and doing 40 minutes of cardio, it really doesn't help you a lot if you're not doing strength exercises. If you're not really getting under the weights and you're building muscle. That is the best thing you can do. But anyway, I have some stuff I've learned from ChatGPT that I'm going to share with you today, and put the first slide up there. Okay, if you give me, see, I got this one here, right? Okay. All right. So resistance training stimulates bone building cells called osteoblasts, right? Stronger muscles place healthy stress on bones, increasing bone density. So if you get older, women start having bone problems and all these things. The best thing you can do is to build muscle to get away from osteoporosis and those kinds of things. Helps reduce risk for osteoporosis and fractures, improves posture, balance, and aids in fall prevention older adults. If you're getting older, if you're getting old like me, right? You'd be surprised how most deaths of old people come out of falling. And why is it that they fall? Because they can't do this, right? They can't do this. Okay? You can't balance on one foot. If you can't balance on one foot, you got a problem. You got a balance problem. And when you have a balance problem, you just hit your side on something, and boom, 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 here you go, and then if you like go up on an attic looking for a Christmas tree, you know so that's an inside joke here in Origin. I'm not going to say who. But anyway, so the thing is, right, just having balance. Let me tell you what something I do in the morning. Here's how my morning goes, right? I wake up, and then the men here knows, and I talk to the men. I said one of the things I do, I don't step out of the bed, I roll out of the bed. Why? Because the first thing I do is I roll out of bed and I go on my knees. I don't let the bottom of my feet touch the ground before my knees do, okay? Have my prayer, get up. When I get up, the other thing I do is I go by the light where I turn on the light, and I grab that and I do 30 calf raises. Your calves are your second heart. Did you know that? Calves are your second heart. That's where you get your circulation going up. You do 30 calf raises, you get as much energy as if you just drank a cup of coffee, okay? Just doing 30 calf raises. The second thing I do is I drink 16 ounces of water, okay? Why? Because your kidneys haven't had water all night, right? Kidneys haven't. I do 16 ounces. And my doctors here, am I doing okay? Yeah. All right, okay, all right, good, all right. Check it. All right, just want to make sure. Okay, so then those are just people. It's just little things, Something else I do. Okay, I go outside. That morning sun, right? I go outside, and something I read, that if I look straight at the sun for about 30 seconds, it almost resets your brain. Okay, so that your brain resets so that in 16 hours you can go to sleep. To let that light go through your eyes and go into your brain. Those are just little things that you can do. But anyway, it's just if we go to the next one. Okay, stimulates strength exercises. Stimulates brain-derived neurotrophic factor, okay, stuff I don't know about, which supports brain cell health, okay, increases blood flow, oxygen. Research shows that resistance can improve memory and cognitive function, okay? If you don't want to be forgetting stuff, Okay? If you don't want to get dementia, if you don't want to get any of these things, it says may slow age-related brain shrinkage, especially in memory centers like the hippocampus. So strength exercise is not just about looking good. Okay? It's not just about, man, you look at me, you think that's all it's about. It's not. Okay? It's not just about looking good, okay? It does a bunch of other stuff too. Okay? It does a bunch of other stuff too for your brain, for your bones. It does a lot of stuff, you know, it's just, and let me tell you something, people, when people go to, I try to get in people's head, listen, when you go to the gym and you're going for a while, it does more things for you mentally than it does physically. You feel good. You feel good. And the thing is, one of the main exercises when you go to the gym is the one that the most important one is the one that people avoid the most, which is leg workout. Okay? Most people run away from leg workout. Legs, building strong legs is the most important exercise you can do. You know, it's doing squats. You have to do squats. You have to do lunges. You have to do all these things. Men, you want testosterone? You know you do. Come on now. You want testosterone? Work out your legs. Your legs will build testosterone. Okay? Work out your legs. Do squats till you drop. Okay? You know, do lunges. All kind of, there's so many exercises for your legs that you can do. Build your calves, you know, get on the calf machine, build your calves. All that helps a lot of circulation in your body when you build your calves. Remember, your legs, when you sit too long or anything, and then as you're getting older, that's where you get your swelling, you know, the swelling of the legs and all this kind of stuff, because you don't do any exercises with your legs that pumps your blood up. Okay, so your legs begin to swell up. That's where you get DVTs. You know, you get all these kinds of things. So doing calf exercises is gonna get that circulation up. Okay, am I all right? Am I okay, doctor? Am I okay? I just want to make sure I don't want you guys saying, man, that guy don't know what the heck he's talking about. All right, so I know what I'm talking about because I got this stuff from ChatGPT. All right, so anyway, so. Okay, regular strength training may lower the risk of cognitive decline and dementia. Okay, exercise reduces inflammation and oxidative stress linked to neurological diseases. Okay, I can't see the beginning of the word and I don't know them. So anyway, but the thing is that it's good for your brain. It's good for your brain. So if you don't want to be forgetting stuff, if you don't want to be getting old and, you know, and not even, you know, knowing who's coming into your house, and if you want to remember your grandchildren, if you want to be, you know, a lot of times my wife tells me, says, why are you working out so much? Why are you doing this? I said, because I want to do Zoe's wedding, you know, my grandchild. I said, I want to do her wedding. And I want to be up there knowing what the heck I'm talking about, you know. I don't want to be up there, you know. Are you Zoe or Lyndon? I don't know. Which one are you? You know, I want to be able. I want to be able to do that. So the thing is that you can't expect people to be, you know, you can't want all these things and not be doing anything about it now. The thing is that, you know, people love goals. Oh, I have this goal. I want to do this. I want to do that. But you know where everything falls apart on? Everything falls apart in the process. Nobody likes process. Nobody likes the process. Another thing is, I was just telling Keaton, you know, because I don't go to the gym and do cardio in the gym. Here's let me tell you why. When I do cardio in the gym, okay, you get on a treadmill and you do this. Can't wait to get off this machine. You know, you're watching your clock. What I do is I play pickleball. Why? All right, I play with Doctor back there. We play together out there. You know, and the thing is, here's why I play. I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, doctors. Okay, but here's the thing, right? When I play pickleball, I do this. I do this. I got to run back. I got to do this. I'm putting my knees, my hips, everything. But if all you do is this, the day you got to do that, you're like falling apart, you know, because you're doing something completely different, okay? Because all you're doing is the same thing. You know, when I do these lifts, you know, I'm strengthening my ankles, the ligaments in my ankles. I'm strengthening all these things because I want to be able to walk. I don't want to be falling. I want to be able to walk. I want to be able to do things. But if you're not, I don't mind being 75. I don't mind being 80. But I want to be able to still do stuff when I'm 80. I want to still, you know, I want to still be able to do stuff. There's this guy in the gym. This guy, you know, I saw him, you know, he looked like an old guy. So I said, you know, but he was built, 6-pack. You know, I got a keg. But anyway, you know, 6-pack, looked amazing. I'm going like, you know, how old are you? I was expecting him to tell me 70, 75, 83 years old. And the man's walking around the gym like, you know, like a teenager. But I said, you know, how do you do it? He says, I've been doing this a long time. I haven't stopped. And the thing is, this man is 83 years old, and then guess what? This man can get on any plane. This man can go anywhere. This guy can walk anywhere. This guy can do anything at 83 years old. When I said, that's what I want to be like. It's not the idea of looking good, looking, you know, built and all that kind of stuff. Is being able to get old gracefully. You know, I don't think this is going to make me live longer, to tell you the truth. I don't think it's going to make me live to maybe because I do this, I'm going to live to be 120. No, but I want to be 75 and 80 and still be active. That's it. And still be able to go, still be able to travel. We go to the next one, okay? Additional benefit supports healthy weight, metabolism. You want to lose weight? You want to lose weight? Build muscle. Build muscle. Am I okay? Am I all right in that, Keaton? You know, build muscle. Build muscle. Because your muscle is going to, you know, muscle also needs fat. Muscle also needs fat. Okay, so it'll take your fat and use it. But if you're not building any muscle, then the fat's got nowhere to go. But here. Improves insulin sensitivity, blood sugar control, lowers blood pressure, and supports heart and health. Let me tell you something about where did I go? When was that? I went to you maybe 9 months ago. Okay, I got in. I had a CAT score that went in there to see my heart and all that stuff. I had a score of about 3,000. I had talked to Sagithia, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're gonna die." I'm like, they scared me to death. You know, I went and talked, got my whole family together and everything. But anyway, so I went. They did a stress test on me. I came out with flying colors. Then they did the other tests they do in your heart. What they call it? The angiogram. They did all that kind of stuff. You know, but I came out good. It says, "Hey, your blood is pumping fine. No problem." You know. Then I went to see the doctor. You know, I just met him out there playing pickleball and all that kind of stuff. And he also is. They're also members of the church that was here. Blueprint, you know, where I met them, you know, so I talked to him. I went to his office. He did that whole blood test on me. It's a whole complete blood test of everything that you don't get anywhere. You know, he's got to order it, and went through there, and he was able to go through this stuff. They try to get me on statins. They try to get me on blood pressure medication. I said no. I'm not doing any of that stuff. You know what? And through all these exercises that I do, I take a lot of stuff. You know, I take a lot of natural stuff. You know, the doctor set me up. He gave me a bunch of stuff, you know, to do to clean my blood, to do all this kind of stuff. You know, and I took everything, and I take protein, I take creatine, I take Pectasol, I take you know, all kind, my vitamin B12 every day. I mean, in the morning it's a ritual. It's a ritual that I go through. Okay, but these are all things that I need, you know. I'm working with Dr. Keaton now. He's got me on some stuff. I'm gonna be looking like him pretty soon, you know. So you know, people, it's about taking an interest in your health. Taking an interest, you know. We take interest on so many things. You know what? You can gain everything else, but if you don't have good health, you got nothing. You know, it's like I was something I heard the other day that said when you're healthy, you got a bunch of stuff to worry about, right? When you're healthy, you got a bunch of stuff to worry about. When you're sick, you only got one thing to worry about. Only one thing to worry about, and that's to get well, right? And that's like, did you hear that Christian comedian? He said, what is he said? If you're, oh man, I forgot what he says. He says, I gotta do more strength exercises. I gotta, you know. But he was talking about. He said, if you're good, the only thing you got to worry about is if you're healthy, the only thing you got to worry about is if you're sick or you're healthy. Now, if you're sick, you only got two things to worry about: if you're gonna die or you're gonna get better. Okay. Now, if you're gonna get better, then you got nothing to worry about. But if you're gonna die, then you only got two things to worry about: if you're gonna go to heaven, and if you're gonna go to hell. If you're gonna go to heaven, you got nothing to worry about. Now, if you're gonna go to hell, you only got two things to worry about: broiled or extra crispy, right? so the thing is, you know, worrying about our health, people, and working out. And my emphasis today to you guys is do strength exercises. And I know that some of you say, okay, and I'm just finished with this part, is that some of you say, well, I don't have time. I don't have time to go to the gym and work out. Do you know that in 15 minutes at home, you could do enough strength exercises? Do you know that you could do air squats? you can do 4 or 5 sets of air squats every day. If you got stairs, you can do stairs. Push-ups. Guys, you can do 150 push-ups a day. Now, I'm not saying you have to do 100 push-ups a day, but if you're home, if you work at home on a computer, every 2 hours, get down and do 25 push-ups. And then push-ups, you can do in for your triceps. You can do out. You can move your hands all kinds of ways, and you're working your shoulders, you're working your chest, you're doing all. I'm talking about just push-ups. And you can do 100 push-ups a day. Some guys doing 1,000 push-ups a day. Okay, but if you do 150 push-ups a day doing that, you can do lunges, you can do lunges, just do lunges. I mean, this is all it is. You can do up and down your living room. And those are lunges. You could, when you get too easy, go in the closet and grab 2 suitcases, and then do it with 2 suitcases, and, put some weight on you. People, it's really easy. It's not that hard. If you, as a man, go down and you start doing 150 push-ups a day, in 2 weeks, you're going to see a difference in your body. You're going to build muscle. And that's you're doing that just 15 minutes a day. Strength exercises. Now, if you really want to get into working out, then you go in the gym and you start hitting some heavy weights and learn. But, at first I advise you, if you've never lifted before, get a trainer. Get a trainer for 2 weeks. so he can teach you how to do stuff right so you don't get hurt. Okay? Get a trainer, and then you just go in and do it. I love the gym. You know, to me, I go over there in the morning, boom, put my headphones on, listening to a sermon, I'm listening to a seminar, I'm learning at the same time, and I'm out. And I'm just, it's my time to relax, and I just start hitting the weights, and it just feels great. It feels great, sweating, hitting, building muscle, hitting the weight, seeing yourself go up in weight, do more every time, And so, I don't know, that's just my recommendation to every man and woman in this place.
Okay, we thank all the presenters, and we want to have them come up so you can ask questions. We have these little stools here, you can sit on them, and then whoever has questions can ask the questions of you. So we have 1, 2, 3 left. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we have 3. There's another one right there. There's another one right there. I guess you can move a little closer to him so Pastor can come here. And here you go.
She can have this.
Okay, do we have any questions from the floor? I'll start off. Oh, Joe has one. Let's have Joe go first.
I'm Joseph Bino, and I would just like to know how I get in touch with you, because I'm definitely paying you a visit after that presentation, and I'm dead serious. Get me your address or something.
Sure, my wife has all the information. You can talk to her. She'll give it to you, no problem. It's my wife right there. That's Dr.
Thank you
Wanda.
very
Dr.
much.
Wanda, my pleasure.
I had a question for Paul, but he's not here. So, anyone else has a question? For Paul, but he's not here. Oh. Okay.
Ask it anyway, they may know.
Oh, well, because he's a raw vegan, I was wondering where does he get his protein? Because you can't say beans because you can't eat raw beans. So where does the protein come from?
I can answer that. So you can soak your beans. If you soak beans, they'll sprout after about 2 or 3 days. And the sprouting process allows them to be much more bioavailable. You can use them for protein source. So you can soak your beans. And other types of sprouts would be also good sources of protein. Spinach also has a lot of protein. Yeah, spinach does.
You could do pumpkin seeds has a very high amount of proteins. Any kind of nut, flax seed. So they usually get their protein from seeds and nuts. Beans are probably like a small amount of the vegan diet's protein sources. One of the limitations with vegan sources of protein is that they usually come with a high amount of fats. So that's also something to look into.
So I love vegetables and fruits,
But the other day I was listening to, well, there's a lot of information on YouTube. So, they talked about the amount of pesticide on spinach, kale, strawberries, and grapes was part of the list I remembered. Like they're full. So can someone tell me where can I get real organic, not the fake organic stuff that they say organic, but then it's not really organic? Some real good, a good farmer around here that I can get organic fruits and vegetables.
That's a good question, and there's not that many to choose from. Down in Broward, my office is in Broward. They have a place called the Southwest Ranches, which is an organic farm that's down there. Southwest Ranches down in Broward. There's also Moranda Farms. I think they're still around. Moranda. I think they're also in East Fort Lauderdale. So you could check them out.
There's a lot of them in Loxahatchee, but since we work in Broward, we get our stuff in Broward.
Yeah.
You could Google it. There's a lot of farms in Loxahatchee where you
Yeah.
they grow it themselves with no pesticides and herbicides.
What's that?
Second one you mentioned.
Yeah,
that's
it's down south too. Yeah, and there used to be co-ops when we were. We used to do co-ops where you can probably look it up on Google, where basically a lot of homeschool parents, they get together and then they order organic produce from different places in Florida and they deliver them. I think it's once a week, once every couple of weeks, and then you get. It used to be where you get a big box, and it was kind of like you get what you get kind of thing. So somebody had lettuce or spinach, fruits and vegetables, whatever they had growing in season. So they're called co-ops. You can look them up and check that way. That's a possibility, yeah. That's a good.
There's a good one in Miami. There's a pharmacist. He left pharmacy. His name is Bobby Price. He has like these fruit boxes that get delivered to your house with no pesticide. Yeah. So that's a really good one. That's local. He's a holistic pharmacist. He has like a holistic doctor. So he has like a website that you could look into, and he has like a detox and Bobby Price. Right.
So I have a question, probably more so for the pharmacist, Dr. Keaton. So I know once you get on statins, it's kind of hard to get off. So what would you recommend for those, especially, like a lot of the baby boomers that are, they end up in medication and they're now trying to be more holistic, working out and stuff like that. Of course, you don't want them to completely get off the medication, but what would you suggest to help so that they're not solely reliant on those kinds of medications that they're on?
That's a good question. So most of the medication, for instance, statins or the blood pressure medication like lisinopril, they're kind of like a Band-Aid for the bigger issue. So like she mentioned, you don't want to just tell patients to cold turkey get off of their medication because then they'll end up in the hospital because especially if you haven't fixed the underlying issue. There are holistic options when it comes to cholesterol, for instance. There's red yeast rice and berberine. Red yeast rice is a statin. It's lovastatin. So it's one of the first statins that we made. So most medication is herbal. So we get pretty much, we're copycats in the pharmacology world. So if there's something like herbal that works, we take it, isolate it, and we try to make it more selective. So, but you can use a good quality red yeast rice with berberine, and that combination I have seen where patients were able to get off their statin, but they're still on a statin. It's just a more natural form.
Wait, before I'm going to finish that or help her without that too. So I mentioned before about cholesterol being the taxi cab and stuff. So you got to check your insulin levels to see if your insulin levels are high. We got to get that under control because the high insulin creates more triglycerides, which creates more fat, which creates higher cholesterol. That's one thing. And also a complete thyroid blood test, not just a TSH, which is now common. It has to be a complete thyroid panel because you have to look at the antibodies to your thyroid because your thyroid is involved in your metabolism. So cholesterol helps to get that fat carried. The thyroid is intricately involved in that. So checking your thyroid is a very, very important thing to do when it comes to that.
What would you recommend?
Well, we use plant sterols. So there's a formula it's called LipidCert. We've been using it for many years. I got great results with patients on that. Again, depending on underlying cause. So if their thyroid is out of balance, I put them on something with thyroid and the lipid cert. But lipid cert is the product that we use. It's basically plant sterols in a capsule form. So it's more natural to help sequester, to grab onto the cholesterol and pull it out. So cholesterol is excreted through bile in your liver, through your intestines. So you got to be going to the bathroom every day. If your body is backed up, the bile will back up. That causes high cholesterol too. So that brings us into the microbiome, which you got the intestinal system with your good bacteria. So you got to have good bacteria down there. They're going back to eating fresh fruits and vegetables, because it's the fermented vegetables that will help to support your microbiome. So sprouts and pickled beets and pickles, organic if you can get them. Those are really good foods. Red beets are probably one of the better things to help your bile flow better, which can pull down cholesterol. So,
yeah, I want to say about the red yeast rice. You know, when in there, I started taking that, and you know, because they recommended statins for me. And I didn't want to take statins, and I didn't want to take any of that stuff. Now, when I did my full test, like with Dr. Chadwick, I found out, okay, you have this high. My cholesterol was at 209, and at 209 they wanted to put me on, you know. So I began to research it, and 209 is not high, you know. It's not high at all. But they try to get you on that stuff, you know, really quick. But anyway, I started taking, and I sent you a picture of the stuff with the red yeast rice and all that. And I started taking, I started taking that. And the last time I went to the doctor, I did a test, and my LDL came out, when it was high, it came out to 143, you know, and that's okay. You know, it came out to 143 from doing the red yeast rice. So, you know, a lot of the stuff, you know, that I've done is, you know, the stuff that they're talking about. I can tell you that I've done them, and they work for me. I had to say that because nobody's asking me any questions. So.
I got you. I want to address you. I'm 66, black female, military, 5 years working on just your past lifestyle stuff. Everybody don't have the same. I got bad knees, hip replacement. You can't do all exercise. Everybody's different. So that's the one with the statins, right? High blood pressure at age of 30 on my birthday. I have stage 2 kidney disease. Also, I'm a diabetic and I have cholesterol. I'm on statins. I've been searching. There's a medicine that they do have is less aggressive than statins, but the military won't approve it for me. And like there's a blood test too. I'm going through what you call H. pylori. I'm in a chronic stage where I issue 20 spots. So I'm trying to eat right. Right now I'm just working. Everybody can't afford it. I'm military. I can afford, I have that insurance, but to go outside, I'm going to look at you all, especially some of you, to see if I can do this, the plants and stuff like that. But it's not easy. Everybody is different. You know, I'm on 6 pills a day. I do take statins. I don't like it. I tried going off one day, half of one, and cholesterol went up. There's a reason why your cholesterol, I try to eat. I spend $600 to $800 every month just for me. I'm by myself. I go to Whole Foods and Fresh Market, and I'm still failing. Amen.
well, I just want to say something about that, because the solution is to test and not guess. Your blood. But the right test that I showed before, you got to... They never give you the right test, unfortunately. They give you basic.
You know, what I do is study, and then they tell me I have some. I study that medicine.
Yeah, but...
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's a never-ending thing.
Right, but if you look at the right testing, you can tell what's going on in your body to give you the right recommendations that'll be best for you and not somebody else. I have a list. You can talk to my wife. She can get that to you. Okay?
Okay. Oh, we got quite a few questions. I have some that someone has asked about gout. Are there natural remedies for gout?
Yes. So gouty arthritis, gout is caused by uric acid crystals. Uric acid generally comes from purines, which is from protein, particularly animal protein. So that would be one kind of situation where you want to reduce your animal protein. Maybe not cut it out completely, but reducing animal protein. That would be helpful. Gout is uric acid crystals. One of the best natural remedies is actually black cherry juice. Tart black cherry juice can be you can drink that every day. You do it usually 2 times a day, 2 to 4 ounces at a shot, and that can help to cleanse. Now, part of gout can also be related to the kidneys. If the kidneys are stressing or they have kidney disease, the kidneys are not filtering correctly, so the uric acid is not being filtered out. So you want to help that too. One of the biggest things that causes an elevation of gout is high fructose corn syrup. It's a killer when it comes to gout. It converts into gout very easily. So if you get off the high fructose, and it's hidden in a lot of foods, it's in ketchup, it's in sodas, it's in a lot of different foods. You got to watch out for that. And again, reduce your meat intake, and you got to increase your water intake because you got to flush it out, right? Acid can be diluted. In school, one of my professors who I really respect, he passed away a few years ago. He always says, the solution to pollution is dilution.
Okay.
So if you dilute your blood with good water, you will reduce the acid and get it out easier.
Thank you.
Okay, my question is ultra processed vegan diet and exercise the answer to all our problems?
Yeah, ultra processed?
Well, the ultra processed vegan food with like the meat replacements they have, like Beyond Meats, they're shown to be just as unhealthy as eating regular meat. Or I wouldn't say meat's unhealthy. I don't really isolate any food groups. It just depends on how they're prepared. Like you probably shouldn't eat any fried food. It doesn't really matter if you're part of the vegan crowd or the carnivore diet crowd. They're really both groups are saying the same thing: eat more whole foods. So pretty much, if we stick to what we're all preaching, you will achieve health with both diets.
Right, and unfortunately in marketing, when it comes to foods, they market those ultra-processed foods as being healthy because it's, plant-based, right? But it's still overly processed. And you have to be very careful of seed oils, right? Particularly like canola oil and even corn oil, soybean oil. Those are the oils that are very... there was a guy by the name of Dr. William Lands, a brilliant biochemist, worked for the government for 50 years. All he studied was fat. He made up plans, he made up a computer program to look at fats in food. And Dr. Lands always said, these plant oils and these artificial margarines, butter lookalikes are the worst thing you can put in your body. I don't care if it's organic or not. Earth Balance, Smart Balance, Country Crap, Country Crock, stuff like that. You want to stay away from those kind of things because they are toxic to your body and they will increase all of these negative factors, all of this oxidative stress that's going on. So you got to look at your whole entire diet. What's that? Yeah, any of those, quote unquote, even if it says, they say no trans fats, that stuff is so processed. Those oils they're polyunsaturated oils. They're very long chains of oils, and they're unsaturated, so they're missing places where hydrogen goes. And they're double bonded, so they're bent. Where they're bent, they get oxidized by toxins, and they become cancerous. They embed themselves in your cell membrane. Those seed oils are cancerous. Do not use them. Why do you think we have so much autoimmune diseases today? Because all those seed oils are so toxic to our bodies, but we're trying to... The commercials look good. Take those instead of butter. Butter is the best fat you can put in your body. It's got to be grass-fed. But butter is short-chain fatty acids, contains butyric acid, which actually grow and helps to support your colonocytes. Your colon cells use that for food. Why do you think that the vegan guy too, he had a lot of inflammation because he wasn't getting the right fatty acids. But you don't want to go extreme like that too. A vegan diet is good for very few people. I've had vegan people walk into my office, look glowing. They're so healthy looking, right? They're usually very thin, and some of them look glowing. Not many. I've had more where they're sickly. I had this one woman, oh my God, she was total raw foodist. She couldn't breathe. She had asthma. She had so much mucus. It was terrible because she was on a raw food diet. I had a 4-year-old kid come in. The dad brought him in, vegan diet. The kid was suffering. He got off not all the raw foods, but he changed his diet around, and the kid started to flourish. It's not a one-size-fits-all, okay? It's knowing what your body needs.
They usually have higher body fat percentage.
Yeah, they do.
Most vegans.
Yeah,
Like,
they do.
My thing was, like, I tried the vegan diet a couple years ago. That's how I knew a little bit about it. Yeah. But I like bodybuilding. I have never seen a vegan that I want to have the same muscle mass as ever. So I figured that probably wasn't the best diet for me.
Yeah, well, I tried a vegan diet a few years ago, too. If I turned sideways, you couldn't see me. Yeah. I got so thin. It's like, in the first few weeks, I felt phenomenal. But after that, it's like my protein was just, I couldn't sustain myself.
I got hurt at the gym the first day I went in. It was terrible.
Not a good
Yeah.
thing.
Well, one of the things I wanted, if you guys are talking about that, like, for instance, when people have, a while back when people had high cholesterol or they have had high blood pressure, they would say, you got to cut out your salt. Okay?
Goodness.
And the thing is, I've read that's not true. That's not true. You got to eat salt. Okay? So what they do, they take out the salt out of their food. And no, you can eat salt. Another thing I talked about, you can eat eggs. I eat 5 to 8 eggs a day. Because eggs have a lot of protein. And eggs are actually really healthy. So this stuff that says, don't eat eggs or take out the salt is not true.
No, that's not true.
All right, so
The number one cause of hypertension among most Caribbean, African American descendants is a lack of potassium. The recommended dietary allowance for potassium is 4,700 milligrams. Google fact check me on that. 4,700 milligrams potassium per day is what we need. The average American gets about 50 milligrams. It's nothing. So what they do is when you don't have enough potassium, the misnomer is that the sodium and potassium are balanced around your cell. Normally, sodium stays outside, potassium is on the inside. When you don't have enough potassium, the sodium gets into the cell. There's a rule in science that says where sodium goes, water follows. So water goes into your cell. The cell swells up. It presses on your blood vessels. Your blood pressure goes up. So instead of telling you to take potassium, which is cheap in a powder form, they give you medication to suppress and push out the sodium. But the sodium is not the problem. It's a lack of potassium. But you're not getting enough. Well, you don't have too much. That's a misnomer. You have too much in your blood because your kidneys are failing. So that's not too much potassium. That is a deficiency of potassium because it's coming out of the cells into your blood. But you got to be careful. Yes, you can have somebody who can walk you through that because you don't want to just take potassium. And please, this is not for advice for anybody here. We're not giving medical advice. We're just giving you education, and you can take with that and maybe see a professional like myself or Keenan. But we just want to give you advice. Don't just start these things at home. That's the truth. We don't want you to get hurt.
And for hypertension, beets is very important
Yes,
to consume.
nitric oxide, yes.
It has a lot of benefits beyond just hypertension. It helps balance the hormones, the endothelial line. That's pretty much the line within your blood vessels, keeping the integrity there so it doesn't lead to a heart attack or stroke. The issue with beets is you can't just get the fruit and blend the whole thing and make juice with it. You can end up with kidney stones, right? I just made a capsule with fermented beets extract with reduction in oxalate so it doesn't cause kidney stone, and I pretty much have them as a capsule that I recommend to patients when they don't want to take their blood pressure medication. And most of them have had success. Oh yeah, I had one patient. He's very anti-medicine. Whenever they come in and they're anti-medicine, I do recommend they listen to their doctor. He refused to take the blood pressure medication and asked what else I had, and I recommended the beets capsules for him, and he was able to correct it. Went back to his doctor with his labs, and his doctor ended up sending all the patients to me that wanted the actual. The doctor couldn't believe that he didn't have to use medication to correct the blood pressure.
It happens all the time. We take people off of blood pressure medicine. It's a very slow process for me. I wean them away. We don't just stop taking blood pressure medicine. We got to go very slowly. Typically, it takes about 3 months. But as we incorporate more potassium, we do beets, we do different things based on your blood test, and we can slowly get you off the medicine. And I have had many cases where people are on high blood pressure medicine. We're going very slow over a 3-month period. Their numbers are coming down. Their blood pressure is normalizing. They're writing it down, and they're taking my products, and they go to the doctor, and the doctor says, "So how you doing? You know, what are you doing?" "Oh, okay, well, I'm seeing a natural doctor, and he's giving me some stuff. You know, I stopped taking my medicine." They're like, "What? You can't do that. You got to be on it for the rest of your life." "But no, doctor, look, I got 3 months here of perfect blood pressure. You can still have a stroke." That's the truth. That happens much more than you know. So, and again, we're not telling you to be your own doctor. You got to be wise, but you got to really. The Bible says we got to have knowledge. We don't want you to become a doctor, but you got to take some interest in your health. I got a guy. Sorry, I'm going off a little bit, but I got a guy I'm treating right now. He's taking 12 medicines, doesn't need any of them. He's going blind from the medicines.
Okay.
I started weaning away from the medicines. His eyesight is coming back. He's feeling so much better. He's taking medicine. He's taking hypertensive medicine and medicine to increase his blood pressure. I'm like, what are they doing to this guy? They don't, he's an old guy. They take advantage. They just give you medicine. Anyway, I'm not going to go. I just wanted to be there. Yeah. Oh, he's going to talk. Go ahead. Young man, go ahead. What's your question?
Is Diet Coke good for you?
Is Diet Coke good for you? Well, I got my opinion. You guys can answer if you want.
Diet Coke, I wouldn't say it's good for you. You could do without it, but might be like if you're someone that's dealing with obesity or high blood sugar, it's better than the other version, but I wouldn't recommend it over, let's say, try to drink more water. It doesn't hydrate you. It's kind of just there to appease your appetite.
So if you're taking the regular Diet Coke that has aspartame is aspartic acid and phenylalanine. It has an effect on your brain chemicals. So it causes you to make more glutamate, which makes you more restless. So if you don't want to be, if you want to be able to focus and get good grades in school, don't do Diet Coke.
So what I was saying earlier is that there's a lot of medications that people are taking chronically that can actually cause nutrient depletion. So statins are a great example. Statins, you take that chronically, it's depleting an important enzyme in our body called coenzyme Q10. And everyone's taking these chronic medications, it's depleting nutrients in your body that you need and hence causes more issues. So you're just chasing the cat's tail, right? So that's something to keep in mind with medications. And then one thing I wanted to add, you did mention magnesium is important, right? And magnesium and potassium kind of go together as well.
And they're both rampantly deficient in our society.
Exactly.
And so in vegetables, I mentioned folate. Remember I said folate, foliage, the green vegetables? It's called chlorophyll, right? Chlorophyll makes the vegetables green. And a chlorophyll molecule is exactly the same as your blood. The only difference is your chlorophyll molecule has magnesium in the center of it. So you get a good source of magnesium from vegetables. And in the blood, the human blood, we get iron. So chlorophyll from green plants will build your iron levels up. How many people take iron and get constipated and have those different problems? If they eat more green vegetables, they're going to get more chlorophyll, so it's going to give them more magnesium to build up their blood, and then they can carry the iron better.
Yeah, that's good, babe. I also want to mention, follow up to what the doctor was saying. When we do our treatments, when we do our blood work, what we're looking for is nutrient deficiencies, and we're looking for toxicities. It doesn't matter what name your medical doctor gives to your condition. What we're looking for are those two things: nutritional deficiencies, toxicities. Once we start detoxifying your body, your colon, your kidneys, your liver, then we can build you up. And within 6 months to a year, depending on how long the patient has dealt with a condition, that person no longer needs the medication drugs. Necessary, because we don't want people to die without them, but there are other ways that we can continue with. And also, our book is coming out, and we're speaking exactly about that. How our society is suffering because most people don't know that they're suffering from nutrient deficiencies. We were playing pickleball one day, and we went home, and I said, babe, I'm really dizzy. I feel really, really dizzy. Just take me to the emergency room so they can draw blood. That's all I wanted. I went to the emergency room. The doctor said, we don't know why you're dizzy. Your blood work is perfect. And I said, may I please have a copy of my blood work? Got a copy of my blood work. My range was off and my potassium was low, but she didn't catch that. Went home, started taking potassium that we have at our clinic, and it was all gone. True story.
My question's along those lines in terms of blood work and labs and stuff like that. So I've had to be my own health advocate for the last 10, 15 years, right? It's only now over the last year or so that I don't drag myself out of bed. I actually get out of bed. I'm able to do some stretches, and I have the energy. I'm not crashing in the middle of the day. I wind down and I sleep for 7 hours a night. Now, it's taken me many, many years to get there. But again, I had to be my own health advocate, and then I had to research, the things that were affecting me. And then I do plan to connect with you guys. But one of the things that I have run into is functional doctors do not accept insurance.
No, they don't pay us. We wish they would pay us.
No, so they won't. So right, my question though is, your GP is only gonna run the basic things, and half the time it's probably not what you need. And I only know this because there was a wellness center in Delray that I went to, and surprisingly, they did take my insurance, and they ran there were so many checks and balances that they did versus what my practitioner was doing. So ultimately, my question though is, with you guys have labs in-house, or do you have labs that you work with, or are you sending us back to our GP? Because our general practitioner is not going to run the test that you guys are going to ask us to do.
We're primary care physicians in Florida, so we order blood tests from LabCorp. We have a contract with LabCorp. We send you to LabCorp. You go 7 a.m. in the morning time, and you're not taking any supplements for 2 full days, and you're going early at 7 a.m. We got a 2-hour window between 7 and 9 a.m. You get there at 7. You don't have to make an appointment. You can if you want to, but you pay through us, and we have very, very comprehensive blood tests that normally would cost you about $4,000. Well, that's what you talk to my wife about, she'll tell you. But it's not $4,000. I can promise you that.
All right, we have 2 more questions.
So the young kid asked about Diet Coke, and a lot of people use that for caffeine. For GIV, do you have any other recommendations besides Forgive? Do you have any other recommendations for energy besides the B12? Or how does that also help with sustaining more energy compared to using caffeine products?
For energy, I usually recommend a group of things called adaptogens. The lion's mane, mushroom, Reese. Ashwagandha is a good adaptogen. It's better at night for ashwagandha because it helps lower your cortisol level. What that does is helps regulate how your body adapts to stress throughout the day. Overall, it increases ATP, which is the action potential, what gives you energy from the food that you consume. So I'll definitely say look into different adaptogen blend, get a good quality version of those. You could take it in the morning, and that can also slow down some of the brain dysregulation that happens that the pastor mentioned. So that's a good option.
And so when you're talking about low energy, there's a lot of factors involved. One of the biggest factors is the adrenal glands. And the reason that caffeine works is because caffeine pushes your adrenal glands to make adrenaline. So that gives you feeling good. But if you're tired, you already have a deficiency of adrenaline. So it's like you're kicking a dead horse. You don't want to keep kicking the horse. Caffeine can work sometimes, but the adaptogens like ashwagandha, Korean ginseng, and different blends will support your adrenal glands. And that's what you want to do. The unfortunate reality, just like the lady was talking about organic stuff, it's hard to get good quality supplements. We use professional grade supplements at my office. Every single company that I carry, we have a full herbal pharmacy that we carry at our office, has been vetted by me. I've been to their plants, I've seen how they make it, and I know that they're good quality. So, but the truth is, if you go to Walmart or you go to CVS, it's a shot in the dark. You don't know what you're getting. That's the reality.
Most of the time, if you went to Walmart or even on Amazon, you're actually not buying anything. There's a lot of counterfeit
Sawdust.
supplements on Amazon. So like studies show like a good 80% of them is just sugar pills. So he mentioned medical grade supplements. Supplements aren't regulated by the FDA like medication. So anybody could get up and put ashwagandha in a bottle and start selling it. So because of that, like there's a lot of vet, and I do the same thing. I probably take 100 supplements because of that, because I have to make sure they work. And there's a few brands we stick to. Yeah.
GMP and their GMP, good manufacturing practices, yeah.
They have to pay for additional testing, so you have to look for GMP on the bottle. But there are supplements that say GMP that you can buy online that's not studied.
What you should do, you can, if you really want to be investigative, you could call the company up and say, can you please send me your certificate of analysis? Certificate of analysis is they had a third party look at their product and it says 500 milligrams of ashwagandha. It'll tell you if it was or wasn't. If they say, what's a certificate of analysis? You better hang that phone up. Don't buy that one.
So my question is, can osteoporosis be reversed? And if not, how do you maintain the bone that's left?
I know Dr. Keenan can probably say something about that with hormones, and I believe in that, but so I'll add something to that. Go ahead.
It could be reversed, mainly with calcium, vitamin D3, K2, very important when it comes to reversing it, and some hormone, like more than likely if you start to develop osteopenia, osteoporosis, there's some hormone dysregulation going on that has to be corrected as well. But I've seen patients go from osteoporosis to osteopenia from supplements and not even taking any hormones.
Yeah, I have 5 patients last year who reversed osteoporosis back down to osteopenia. The most recent one was a 72-year-old woman that had a 4% increase in her bone mass over about 6 months with the different nutrients. So the bones are dynamic, right? And there's a lot of different nutrients. Magnesium is a big thing for the bones, calcium, vitamin D. Phosphorus is also needed to check. You got to check your blood phosphorus levels because there's a ratio of calcium to phosphorus. If that ratio is out of balance, you're going to be losing bone. So if you have too much phosphorus or not enough, talk about Diet Coke, phosphoric acid is in Coca-Cola. That will leach out the calcium from your bones. So you got to know your phosphorus, your calcium, your vitamin D, your magnesium. There's another particular blood test called alkaline phosphatase. That is a substance that makes the environment around the bone alkaline so the calcium gets absorbed. If there's acid around your bone, you leach out the calcium. So when you know what you're looking at, you can deal with it and reverse things.
The beet pill that you make, is it similar to the nitric acid that they sell, like Dr. Gondry and stuff like that?
So we use fermented beets in our capsule. There are some beet supplements that use the whole fruit, but a lot of times the patients will end up getting kidney stones and not want to take it anymore. So if you get side effects, that kind of like, it's counterproductive because then you won't get any of the benefits. So there are other brands, like there's a brand called Human. They make a good beet supplement. You have to be very careful when taking beet supplements because of that, because the kidney stone could be pretty severe.
Yeah, the one that I use is a company called Nature's Sunshine. They make it's like a little packet. It's called Power Beets, and it's Tibetan beets. It's from Tibet. So their amount of nitric oxide is higher than, and the oxalates are very, very low. So that's what we use at our office.
So Whitney, will you come to Wellington for IV therapy?
I serve the Tri-County area.
All right.
Okay, I have 2 questions. Well, one statement and a question. The statement is, when I used to go to the doctor to get my blood test, he would say, your B12 level is so high. Are you taking B12? And I would say, no, I'm not taking B12. He said, there must be something you're taking that is off the charts. So I was taking berberine. And I stopped the berberine just to figure out if that was what was causing it. And when I went back, my B12 was low. So have you heard that berberine makes your B12 high?
There probably was B12 in that berberine supplement.
I use different kinds. I get the Costco one, I get the Amazon one, I just get different kinds.
But having a high, so unless you were having migraines or side
Not
effects,
bourbon.
so having high
Berberine.
B12 isn't very concerned. B12 is a water-soluble vitamin. So if you have too much, your body just gets rid of it. You just kind of, if your kidneys are working properly, you just pee it out. So
Yeah.
if doctors like ring the alarm and bring concern with patients with that all the time, but it really, there's nothing negative about a high B12 unless you're having migraines and side effects from it,
Right.
which is very rare.
And in the microbiome, in our intestines, we have bacteria that actually ferment and make B12. So you may have some bad bacteria there that's making, because bad bacteria can make B12 and folate too. So you got to look at that as far as that. Usually when you have bad bacteria, you'll have histories of bloating and gassiness. You might have, history of yeast infection. So there are some clues that give us an idea that you're getting too much from your intestinal microbiome being out of balance. It can come from supplements. That's possible, but not likely. It's probably coming from the fermentation there of the gut. So looking at that. So berberine is, in Chinese medicine, berberine is used to clear out what we call damp heat. So it actually is very good for dysbiosis or yeast and fungus in your intestines. But as far as the berberine and B12, I don't know the exact mechanism that would do that. But I would definitely look into your microbiome and see what's going on there.
Okay, and so my question is for Pastor or whoever, you guys who will have muscles. When I go to the trainer, he tries to make me push heavy weight. That hurts my joints. Would you suggest as a female I do lighter weights and more reps, or do the heavy weights?
Can I answer this? Please, go ahead. A lot of times I see people go to the gym, and a lot of times I see trainers, and I really believe that 80% of the trainers in the gyms don't know what they're doing, Yeah. And the thing is, a lot of times you go to a trainer, he tries to show you, and he wants to hurt you, because he wants you to be so sore the next day that he thinks that that's the way, he's going to show you he's a good trainer. If you're going to the gym, the first 2 weeks, you should be doing light workout, but doing like almost every machine, because you're going to be doing stuff to your joints that you've never done before. You're going to do movements you've never done before. It's not just muscle, it's joints, tendons, and nerves that are involved in your workout. So you, first of all, you need to learn how to make these movements, learn how to do the exercise right. That is crucial at first, because when you're going to learn that once you do the exercise right, you can lift a lot more weight when you do it right. So the first things a lot of times I see these trainers is like, I saw him, Jasmine Arnold. I remember one day she showed up to the gym many years ago, and there was a trainer. His name is Bo, and she was doing squats the first day with weights on. And after she was done, I knew the trainer. I said, Bo, she ain't never coming back, right? And it was right. I called her up the next day. She couldn't sit in the toilet. Okay, so guess what? That person's not coming back. So the thing is, he had to learn. What he should have done was teach her to do air squats. That's it. You start with air squats, and then you just do the squats with the bar. Then you add 10, and you go up. But once you get into that, once your joints get used to whatever movement it is that you're doing, because it's like it's different movements that you're doing. Once you get your joints and all that ready to go, then you start putting some weight on. But to me, everyone who goes to the gym the first 2 weeks, they should just go in and do everything in one day, like the whole body in one day, right? But just do different exercises. Don't try to kill yourself. Just do them, just to get your muscles ready and just to get equipped. Once you get that, then you start dividing up your body. Then you start doing, like I go in, I do chest, shoulders, and triceps on the same day. It's a lot, but I do that on the same day because when I do chest, I do triceps. When I do chest, I do shoulders. So it's all of that, I work it out together. I make sure I do it in one day. The next day, I'll do legs. I rest my whole body. I do legs, and I just do, because your muscles grow when you rest, not when you work out. Okay, that's why the sleeping part is crucial. If you don't sleep well, your muscles won't grow. You got to get 7 or 8 hours of sleep for your muscles to grow. So you work it out, and then you let your body rest. I do legs. Then the next day I come in and I do biceps and back. You know. Then I'll do a whole complete rest day. Don't do nothing. Rest completely, and then I come back and I start the same routine again. You know, but you got to be careful because sometimes they don't know that much.
Yeah, women should definitely be lifting weight just as hard as men. It doesn't change. No. Heavy, low repetition weights as you get older, very important. That's the most important thing for your bone structure. He mentioned earlier. It helps with your cognitive decline, to slow that down. If you have like a family history of dementia, that will slow things down and help regulate hormones naturally without having to take anything. And it also increases your metabolism like exponentially versus doing cardio or anything else.
Yeah, and I love creatine. Like the pastor was saying, creatine monohydrate is great. You got to check your kidney function because there's something called creatinine in your blood test. You don't want to have that too high.
Yeah, drink a lot of water with it.
Yeah.
Drink a lot of water.
Yeah, but that's really good for the muscles. And as we're talking too, and Pastor mentioned before, I just want to kind of be clear about it. As you build more muscle, you're making more mitochondria in that muscle. As you make more mitochondria, you have the power plant to burn fat better. That's why when you gain muscle, you can burn fat easier. Now, there's an amino acid called L-carnitine. Carne means meat in Spanish, in Latin, but carnitine is the rate-limiting amino acid for fat metabolism. So once you get on your program and you're doing good with it, and you kind of maybe get to a plateau where you're not seeing your gains, or you're not losing enough weight fat-wise, take some extra carnitine. That can be very helpful. You got to take about 3,000 milligrams a day, which is about, so it's like 6 capsules. You get powder too.
It's not bioavailable.
Yeah.
So you could call her. So the L-carnitine infusions are very amazing. It's good for your heart. It's one of the best things you can do because our heart have a harder time at mobilizing the fat cells.
Yeah.
So the L-carnitine will be very good for patients, as well as most of us, we're living in a post-COVID era. Most of us are walking around with crazy high amounts of histamine. No one's talking about histamine detoxes, but it's going to be a big deal. There's a reason that we all have a residual cough for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Vitamin C infusions is one of the best things you can do for that. And you could take liposomal vitamin C, but it might not do much for you by mouth. So that's why we're afraid of needles. It's something that we have to get around because there is also benefits. For instance, even glutathione, clearing up the fatty liver that we might have, can turn back on the metabolism.
Right.
So there's a lot of benefits to getting infusions when needed, especially now.
And I want to say too, just about that, infusions go right into your bloodstream. That's going to be the best way. Just as far as L-carnitine is concerned, there's a particular type of carnitine called acetylcarnitine. The acetylated form of L-carnitine has been proven to cross the blood-brain barrier too, so it does protect you. You do have to take a lot of it, but you can do the infusion and get right into your system, but you can take it by mouth.
Can you talk to, because Dr. Keaton, he got me on a pill because of the mitochondria, when I talked to him, and then you sent me this, the pills that I'm taking. Could you talk a little bit about the mitochondria, because that's crucial for muscle growth.
If the mitochondria isn't working, nothing in your body will work. So the mitochondria is where it's pretty much the engine of your cells. So if your mitochondria is off, your pancreas isn't working, your brain isn't working, heart, nothing's working properly. So there's certain supplements. The one that he mentioned, it has this active ingredient, Midopur. It pretty much clears up the free radicals and the toxins around your cells. If you have a lot of free radicals, which is pretty much like electrons with like a charge on it that's jumping around, your body cells won't work properly. So it's very important to try to get those out. And like we mentioned, the vitamin C infusions, that's one of the biggest ways vitamin C diffuses free radicals as well. Take them out. Histamine they behave like free radicals, so you definitely want to make sure you're taking creatine. Midopur is a newer supplement, but they've seen a lot of benefits with it. Increased muscle strength from people that take it and didn't even work out. That's how much of an impact it has had on the mitochondria.
Yes, and one of the best assessments for mitochondrial function is actually called an organic acid test. It's a urine test that we send to a lab, and we are able to measure the organic acids that are utilized in the mitochondria in the Krebs cycle and the electron transport chain. So we're actually measuring those in the urine, so we can see where the breakdown is specifically, and then we can target that with the right nutrients. So yes, you want to have a really healthy mitochondria. That test can show you, where there may be the breakdown in that particular area. Of
Okay,
your cells. That test is $599.
Okay, so this has been great. And yeah, we could keep asking questions for the rest of the afternoon, but we end at 6. So I have the 2 last questions that I have written down here. Whitney. Yes, the question is for you. The injectable vitamin D, is it D2 or D3?
So it's just vitamin D. I think D2, D3, you can probably clarify the pharmacist. That's more so for like oral.
It'll be D3. There's like a conversion ratio, whichever one you take, they kind of like flip back and forth, but it's most likely D3 that she's using.
Yeah,
All right.
because the vial that we get for the shot, it just says vitamin D. Usually just the oral light, I see the difference.
But D3 is the one that you want. Usually we get it from the sunlight. If you have like more melanin, you're darker, you could go outside all day, your D3 is still gonna be low. So it's good to supplement with it. If you're getting it injected, you don't have to take any supplements. You have to just be consistent with getting it injected. But it pretty much regulates everything. D3 is not really a vitamin, it's more of a hormone. And if that's out of whack, then your chances of getting diseases every single disease increases significantly.
So by the time we finish taking all these supplements, we can't eat. We'll be full.
I take probably a handful of capsules every morning. So you won't be full, but it does make a difference. You feel like a difference in energy. You'll hear like a lot of patients or different people that start doing that. Like Pastor is happy about it. He's been pretty much taking a lot of supplements from what I'm hearing him say as well. And it's pretty much, you want to prevent diseases, right? And we're talking about wellness. Wellness is pretty much it's not really about longevity. It's about your health span. What's your quality of life, right? So you just have to make sure you're taking the right thing, and what you buy is what you intended to buy.
I just want to make one comment about vitamin C infusions. If you're going to do very high doses, like 10,000 or 10 grams a day, you got to be very careful. You got to check their G6PD in the blood. If that G6PD is too low, they are not a candidate for having very high dose vitamin C levels. They can have medium levels, but when you get into 10 gram level, low G6PD is oxidative. It's not a good thing. So just if you're doing that high, you should check the G6PD in the blood. Anyway.
The final question. The Now magnesium spray that you use under your feet for sleeping, is it absorbed into the body enough to give us enough magnesium that we need?
Probably not, because of the high dose of magnesium that's recommended, like what he mentioned. I probably take 3 different magnesium supplements. I take magnesium citrate. Magnesium citrate helps with my digestive tract, keep things moving. I take magnesium glycinate or threonate interchangeably. That helps with my nervous system to regulate it, and I spray it on. So you need a high amount of magnesium. Magnesium is pretty much what prevents your blood from clotting when you wake up. Most people get heart attacks or strokes first thing in the morning. It's usually related to having low magnesium. Supplemental with magnesium have been shown to reduce the chances of having a heart attack in the morning significantly.
And magnesium has 300 jobs. 300 jobs. So it's very important. And so you're going to get, when you do it topically on the skin on your heel is the thinnest skin in your body. So it will absorb through there. It just depends on the amount of milligrams you're getting. So you need anywhere from 400 to 1,200 milligrams a day, depending on your situation, what's happening in your body. So usually the oils, they're not going to give you that much. They'll give you some, and it is bioavailable. You will absorb it, but it's not.
It relaxes that muscle though. Like if you mentioned you were sore from the gym. Yeah. So the muscle that was sore, if you sprayed that magnesium spray on it, it would definitely help benefit.
No, I'm not sore in my muscles, my joints, my shoulders,
You
my
can spray it there,
knees, my
too.
wrist, everything hurts.
Spray
when
it
I
on.
leave.
Are you taking collagen?
No.
That's a good idea. to
Yeah,
take
take
some
collagen.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, I have one more. I have the mic, so I'm taking privilege. But it was a good question, and it comes out of my area. But I have a lot of patients that are keeping their placenta, as well as to make placenta capsules, as well as the colostrum as well too, that they're taking that. So can you speak to what the benefits may be for taking that, either for the parent, for the mom, or for anybody else? Because I know that's something that's happening in the bodybuilding world as well.
I want to comment on colostrum. I use that a lot. Colostrum is the substance found in breast milk the first 3 days when a baby is fed in humans, right? It's also in animals. Cows have it too. So colostrum contains a lot of immunoglobulins, IgA, IgM, IgE, IgGAME, 4 of them. So I use it a lot for autoimmune patients. I actually have a mixture I have them mix it with butter because butter contains butyric acid along with a probiotic, and it's excellent for your immune system. So if you get sick frequently, if you have an autoimmune disease, I love colostrum as far as part of my protocols. And the one I use also has some, he mentioned mushrooms before, different mushrooms like maitake and shiitake are very good for the immune system also. So colostrum is a phenomenal thing. As far as the placenta, it has a lot of different nutritional value. That's where they get a lot of stem cells from. So it's a source of stem cells. And stem cells are pluripotent, so that means that wherever you put them, they will become like that cell. So if you put it in your muscle, your knee, it's going to become those cells there. Put it in your heart, it's going to become heart cells. That's what stem cells do. So the placenta is a good source of that stuff. So if you're using that, it's a very nutritious thing. In China, placenta is revered as being very helpful for many, many types of imbalances because it feeds everything. So
taking it as a capsule, I'm not sure about the benefits of. They are doing that, but saving the placenta, freezing it, you could use it for the same kid later on if they run into like some chronic disease or like a blood cancer. The stem cells can make a difference or perhaps save one of your relatives' lives. It's just very expensive to have it frozen. That's the biggest issue with that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you all very much. Could you give them a hand, please? Very, 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 very educational.
How many of you guys want to thank Sagithia here for an amazing health day? I tell you, it's going to turn out good, right?
You did.
You know, it's going to turn out good. I thank you for that. So we didn't tell you got to move to the country or anything like that, right? We didn't tell you have to go in the woods and go somewhere. You know, we didn't say any of that. We talked about practical stuff, practical things that we can do now and do that every day. And thank you so much, Dr. Sagithia Kankam.
Thank you very much. Before we go, I see everybody's getting ready to go. We got to do the drawing of the, let them go. Okay, you guys can go.
All right, you want me to pick it out? I pick it out.